I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
You're listening to Codependent Content, the podcast where we discuss the TV shows, movies, books, and video games in which we share an unhealthy relationship.
That's what he did. Hello?
My name is Mattias. Join us as we try to unravel the characters, stories, and worlds that we are entangled with. Because just when we think we're done with content, it draws us back in. Let's jump in, Morgan. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
Episode 5 happened. Episode 5 of The Last of Us, titled Feel Her Love.
Oof.
Directed by Stephen Williams. Special shout out to stunt coordinator Marnie Eng, which I saw in the reference in the behind the scenes, and definitely someone that we might bring up later when it comes to certain things.
Seems likely.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to Codependent Content. My name is Mattias. This is Morgan. We're talking about The Last of Us. If you're new here, we go straight into it. There's no spoiler section. It's just all spoilers all the way through, right? We will try and not spoil things from the video game of upcoming episodes, things like that. That said, I have played the game. Morgan has not. So he's one of you.
I'm a muggle.
He's a muggle. But yeah, that's your spoiler warning. Don't go ahead if you're afraid of spoilers or if you haven't seen the episode. Definitely watch the episode first and then come back. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a great ride so far. We're 5 episodes in. We only have 2 more. Crazy short season.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad we've been able to talk about it and we've been able to have some content. Speaking of which, Morgan, we got a lot of feedback this week. People, if you ever have any feedback for us, you can always email us at codependentcontent@gmail.com. Go to YouTube, leave a comment, or go to TikTok and Instagram, which is where we got a lot of feedback this week, right? Specifically on our conversation about rainbows and whether or not in the same sentence, Ellie and Dina would not know about the queer community, but they happen to know about the Apollo 11, right? Landing and all those kind of stuff, right? And space, you know? Where's the line? How do we know what knowledge they have and what knowledge they don't have? Now, this is a section that I'm going to tentatively call Codependent Content apologizes for whatever we said wrong. But that said, to be fair, I'm going to throw my hands up because I defended this decision, at least. That at least the space stuff I could understand her knowing based on her character. There are other problems I had with the episode, but
Sure.
In specifics, a lot of people had a problem with the fact that, like, of course, she would know space stuff, but not the queer stuff. There were a lot of comments specifically about the federal school. Oh, you think a fascist school would not teach a bunch of people like gay rights? Oh, wow. It's a lot of sarcasm, obviously. So many comments along those lines. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But more specifically, I want to call out this comment that we got from B700K3. Don't know if there's any elite language there, but we'll refer to them as B700.
B700.
And they left a comment on our YouTube channel. I thought it was really well written. It's a long comment, so I did cut it down a little bit. But here's what they said. It felt like they were showing the sad fact that in this world, hatred and bigotry survived through the apocalypse, but pride did not. And yet queer people have always and will still always exist regardless of that fact. What Ellie learned about history is whatever the federal school deemed important, and the books she had access to would have been books that the federal government allowed. Very great points on that. A lot of people brought up the fact that, like, of course, a federal school is teaching about other things, history or whatever, but is going to leave out where at that time, 2003, which again, we talked about, was a time where there wasn't probably much gay rights movement even in the history books, much less the fact that like, why would they want to include that in this fascist-ish government, I guess, right? Some could argue that might have changed when you got to Jackson. Maybe they would have learned a little bit more about that, but we don't know. That said, going through the rest of the note, which I thought was interesting, although we see that she is very steady in her sexuality in the game, she wasn't necessarily out and proud. She hid it from Joel. She made a point of the fact that she was uncomfortable to be dancing with Dina in front of all the people at the dance. And Dina also struggled with her and hid her sexuality, as we saw in that episode, which altogether makes it seem like they likely didn't have many or any out gay people in Jackson to look up to. Here's a thing I found interesting. In the game, Ellie wrote about it in her journal. She mentioned that she didn't know how Kat could be so open about it, which is a thing that I forgot. They go on to say they weren't around any queer elders, queer people who were old enough to have lived in the before times, to have had the history of pride and acceptance passed down to them. So yeah, I thought it was very insightful to bring in the journal and to bring in like the inner thoughts of Ellie. Obviously, we don't have that context through the show and stuff. Again, personally, my points were less about the space differences and what she knows there, but the other quips and other jokes we get sometimes in the writing that feel like inconsistent with what they know and don't know. But this is a very good point. Ellie went to a federal school. She's not learning about gay rights and gay pride. So it definitely feels like the rainbow thing would probably have like missed them completely, you know? And a lot of people have mentioned how much that they clearly did not have, there's still some sort of, you know, maybe not outright bigotry, but for some reason there's like, they're not just going around being out, you know, queer people are not just suddenly out now that the apocalypse happened. It seems even more suppressed than it was before. Yeah. Is that how are you feeling about that now? Yeah.
I think that's a lovely explanation. Yeah. And like, look, I'm not that committed to, you know, the point I expressed last week that seemed ridiculous to me because like, honestly, I like the show enough that I was ready to forgive it regardless.
Sure.
I think if we were like entertaining this, I would still like press a little bit because as awesome as that comment is, I'm also like, Ellie knows a lot of things that she didn't learn from a Fedra school.
Sure. Ellie's
personality thrives on breaking rules and finding out things that Fedra doesn't want her to know. Mm-hmm. And I stand by what I said that when it's your literal sexuality, that's something that I think that like theoretically she would have poked around a lot on in the same way that she like tries to learn about firearms or, you know, no passing zones or like buildings that are off limits and stuff like that. Right. Mm-hmm. But ultimately still, I think it's regardless, it's like super valid that, yeah, for sure. Fedra wouldn't be teaching about the pride flag and stuff.
Yeah.
But also like, it's not impossible for me to imagine like a scenario where in Fedra is like, these symbols are banned for certain reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Like when governments erase histories, they don't do it. It doesn't like always just quietly disappear, right? A lot of times they're like, these symbols are hostile. Mm-hmm. You'll be punished for painting them, right? And stuff like that. So that it just seemed, I guess, a little crazy to me that pride never even came up. The pride flag never even came up.
Yeah,
right?
It makes me wonder too.
Like, of course, they're not teaching in the school, but the Fireflies never painted like a pride symbol somewhere, or no one ever did it as an act of defiance that she heard about. I don't know. Yeah,
it's just we don't. I mean. There's so much we don't know about the world, but I do think the fact that like what we have seen, we can assume that like clearly like it hasn't been right. Yeah. So otherwise, we would have known about it. Maybe it would be something that she would have thought about more. The actress Isabella Merced brought up in an interview that I saved. Also, I forgot to mention that she brought up that she doesn't think that Dina even knows the word bisexuality.
Oh,
right. So there's even some like headcanon amongst the actors in terms of like what they know and don't know, like that they do have this inherent, like, you know, obviously I was born this way. Like I like these things, but I'm confused because I don't have a word for it. Right. And they obviously, if they had brought it up to anyone, say like Joel or Gail, the therapist, or anyone, I'm sure they would have been like, "Oh, that means you're bisexual," and they mind blown, right?
Right.
But clearly, they haven't done that, right? So there's enough for me like to like understand and suspend my disbelief of like what they do know and don't know, and the fact that like clearly they've been taught certain things, and what's most important in a post-apocalyptic world, probably not the gay right stuff, but you know, other survival things. She does know a lot about space, but it's clearly present in the game and the show that like she's probably got this info from other places.
Sure.
And we'll probably get into that a little bit more before the season ends. But yeah, this is something I just wanted to bring up. Definitely worth talking about. It makes me want Dina and Ellie someday to like run into like a gay commune, you know, and be like, who are these people? Like,
Totally.
what? You're all just like, now it's sounding like a cult, having sex with each other. I don't know.
No, I mean, like on a more and more basic level, you're all like us.
Yeah.
But I think I hear you. Look, I do think that like, yes, to your point is like, I was ready to forgive this before this lovely explanation. Yeah. And like, this only helps. I mean, my suspension of disbelief, like you're saying.
Yeah, it is. Now what she does know of that, it's a little bit different in the game, but we do get the beautiful like Bill and Frank episode in the first season, right? And Ellie does know that these two people were together. Like she expected to find them both at the house. I don't know what she knew of their relationship. In the game, it's not quite as overt, right? Like Frank, is it Frank that doesn't? Yeah, Frank doesn't exist really as a character, and Bill's a very like macho guy, right? And when you meet him, like you wouldn't expect that kind of like love from him or whatever. Yeah. So it still feels like in this world, Bill oppressed it for many different reasons, and Frank was just kind of like out and proud kind of thing. But there was still clearly a thing where like, we have to keep this from people we don't trust, you know, idea. So I think it's safe to say that like, for some reason, it's still oppressive for gay people in this world. You know, I say for some reason, there's probably clear reasons, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I do. Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's interesting just hearing you talk about this. I'm like, how's the WLF feel about gay people? Yeah. How do the Scars feel about gay people? I have no idea. I'm kind of curious.
That'll be very interesting. When we get to the cold open, there's a lot I want to say about what I've gathered from the WLF, which could say they like are okay and not okay with, depending on how you look at it. It's very interesting to me, like the insight there. Other feedback I want to bring up is just kind of like general. There wasn't a specific thing, but what I've noticed is that more recently, especially as people have found the TikToks and the reels and the clips that we've been putting online, we're getting a lot more people that are discovering us. Again, so glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying the podcast or whatever. So many people are saying like it's what's the word? It's such a relief to find people that love the show, that are talking about it in an analytical way. And coming from a genuine like place, you know, because they're discovering so much hate and so much bigotry online. Of a lot of what people are putting online is just terrible stuff, you know, and so they're discovering us and they're enjoying our conversation about it. And it seems like we actually are enjoying the characters in the show for like what it is, which
I think is the goal.
Like, yes, no, absolutely. It's just a great comment to get, and also like I just love that people are finding us. And at the end of the day, that is our goal, is to like show how much we love the show and how much we love these characters. Yeah. And even if we have criticisms of the writing or whatever, it's like, it's coming from a place of heartfelt, you know, genuine care for this story. Yeah. You know? And I'm so glad people are finding it. I just like that people were discovering us and that they loved finding us and didn't know who we were before, and now they're here, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. It's just really cool to see that, you know? Totally. And we're building our own little community online kind of thing, right? Great. I think that's our feedback for this week. Again, feel free to leave those comments. Give us an email. Give us a a comment on YouTube, and I'll read it on the podcast. We'll see what happens.
Please, yeah.
Especially if there's anything more that we need to apologize for in this segment of.
Yeah, I am always ready to apologize. It's true, especially it's like talking about a show like this where it's like a lot of people spend a lot of time and money making this thing. They're a lot more experienced and creative people than I am. So yeah, this is
So
like
we're sorry.
yeah. Sorry,
But also we're right. No, wait.
no, but seriously, I mean, I guess to your point about like why we do the podcast and also like why we pick the show is like we're talking about it a lot because we like it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to do this if this was a show that we were hate watching.
Yeah,
we wouldn't want to do this if we thought Joel was a dumb character and didn't give a shit about this universe and who cares about Ellie. It's like, no, we like these characters and the actors, the artists involved in bringing it to life, and that's why we talk about it a lot, and also why we're willing to be wrong talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. It's so weird that people do that. They are like hate watching the show, and all they put out is general hate. Who knows?
That's the internet for you.
That's the internet. Well, thanks again. Let's get to talking about the show. Again, this episode, I didn't look up the runtime, but I remember someone saying it was like 45 minutes.
Is it really?
Someone can correct me. I don't know. So that would make it one of the shorter episodes of the season. In an already short season, this is kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. This is titled "Feel Her Love" in reference to the prophet of the Seraphites. Something we've seen twice written on the walls now. Again, directed by Stephen Williams.
Though it could also have some double meaning with some of our other characters.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Morgan, before we get into our breakdown or a deep dive or whatever we want to call it, give me your general thoughts. What do you think of this episode? How did you feel, especially coming off the last one?
Far and away my favorite episode of the season.
Really?
I love it. I think it's awesome. I feel like we're in true mission mode. It's stressful. It's uncertain. There's like massive plot points, so it doesn't feel like just like senseless wheel spinning. Like we're learning more, we're getting closer, we're understanding more things. And it's got a lot of variation. We're like I don't want to get into all the spoilers yet, but it's just like there are so many different. This episode has so many different gears in a good way. But yeah, I loved it.
Great.
That was definitely my
Awesome.
favorite episode of the season.
I'm going to spoil some shit real quick.
Let's do
Which
it.
one are you more excited about? Spores or Jesse? Because I'm telling you what.
Look, Jesse, if you're watching, I feel bad because what's more exciting than a yoked dude coming to rescue our favorite people? But the spores are my favorite thing.
The spores are my favorite.
Spores are so fucking cool.
Spores are back, baby.
It's so unsettling and gross and creepy and terrifying. It's like up until this point, right? It was like, okay, you got to get bit by an infected, and then they introduced like the what do you call them? The lurkers or
Stalkers,
which
Yes.
is like horrifying. More on that in a little bit.
Yes,
but at least you could always see it coming. At least it was always like this 1-on-1 or 30-on-1, a horde or an infected former human being. Now it's just airborne. Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It does seem to be that it's contained to certain sections, and we'll get into more of that as we go into it. But yeah, I'm just glad that they brought it in. It is going to raise a bunch of questions probably later on in terms of like how it plays, you know, because in the game, everyone knows about spores. And now at this point, only certain people know about spores. So how is that going to play if we run into it again? Who knows, right? But that said, so glad to have both Spores and Jesse back. I'm going to talk about that more, obviously. But I was so excited. And not only that, one, we know Tommy's here as well. But
theoretically,
theoretically, but the amount of things I've had to hold back from saying, like in previous episodes, having played the game and knowing where the story's going, and that you haven't, and you're like, wow, Jesse's staying in Jackson and all this kind of, and for me to have to be like, he's coming, he's going to come back, and not say anything, and here he is, and I was like, it's just felt so good. It just felt so good, I love Jesse so much.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, we'll get it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. My general thoughts on this episode are along the same lines. Very good episode, very tight. Lots happened. You know, a lot of things are happening, and I think it was really good. I like having, you're right, doesn't feel like we're wheel spinning. We're straight into it. That said, I do want to bring up some criticism that I've been seeing in general about the episode after last night, as well as some criticisms that I brought up last week, as well as going into this week, right? As I mentioned last week, feels like we're moving at a faster pace. That's definitely true now.
Okay.
This is day 2, and whereas day 2 in the video game includes a lot of this stuff, feels like they're still condensing it so much into like one 45-minute chunk.
Yeah.
You know? It really is just like night 2. And it's like, man, like the journey doesn't feel quite as long, right? And that's not to say it's like, it is condensed both in time, like the general timeline of when it's taking place in story, and also for us in terms of like how much they're packing in. Don't get me wrong. I love a packed episode. So much happens and I love it. But it does feel like we're moving fast.
Yeah.
You know, we're hitting beat after beat after beat, you know, and that it's not, the journey's not feeling as long for them.
Sure.
You know, I forget the general consensus and criticisms of that. But yeah, I think people are, the reason I do want to bring that up is like, I do feel like this pacing is upping and that this condensing is happening, but I also understand it because at the end of the day, making a show this high budget is really hard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that happens in the game. And if you're going to build a set and if you're going to make these scenes, you have to be very specific about where you do things and how things happen. You know, for instance, a little bit of a spoiler, Jesse coming back and meeting the scars for the first time all kind of happen here in this episode all at once. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the video game, they kind of are separate beats that happen. They don't really overlap that much. But here it all has to happen at once because you don't have the time or the resources or the money to just build set after set after set and keep elongating this, probably. You know, especially with how much actually does happen. There's infected. There's a whole room that they have to build for like the spores thing. There's which was a practical set, by the way. Yeah. I was surprised to see in the behind the scenes, it looked like one shot and it was just all practically there. Yeah. I'll bring that up again. And then all the extras and stuff that are happening. Like
there's a hospital that's like looks like it's fully functioning.
And I was like, I do not envy the logistics that have to happen for something like this to happen. And the fact that we're getting this show at all and that we're hitting all the similar beats at all is great for us.
Thanks HBO. I mean, that's what they do. Yeah. It's kind of like, it is kind of one of those shows that it's hard to imagine on another network or another streaming service or whatever.
And I would kind of rather have this than what we had at the beginning of the season, which was 3 episodes of Jackson that probably should have been like 1 episode, you know, or could have been if you base it off of the pacing that we've been having so far.
Sure.
You know, or maybe I would have liked them to stretch out this kind of stuff more. Who knows? I don't know. So there's a little bit of like, and a lot of people are feeling whiplash too, because we're going from like one moment of like cutesiness and whatever, and then another moment of like vengeance, and we're going like, and it's all happening like so quickly. Yeah. You know? So I understand that the criticisms, and I want to call that out. Even though I am also really, really enjoying that. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as someone who hasn't played the game, I've kind of just written off this like inconsistent whiplashy pace as like part of post-apocalyptic life, where you're just kind of like, oh my God, there's this horrible murder and our town now needs to figure out what we're doing. And this is going to take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, months, whatever. And then we're on a mission, man. And things change every 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't bugged me as much. I think because I don't have the reference of the game in the background.
That's the thing is like, I obviously have played the game, so I'm going to have some problems. And I think a lot of people who do, like, they're very familiar with the story and the characters and the game as well. And it always is interesting to me to hear from someone who hasn't played the game. They're only experiencing it for the first time. And I cannot take my brain into that, you know?
Yeah.
And so to hear you that this is your favorite episode so far makes me so happy. Because a lot happens, and I'm like, the fact that you're still enjoying this is great. I should be enjoying it too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the game exists and the show exists. I can have both of them. You know, if
Totally.
I want to make this like longer, I can go play the game, you know? And the fact that the show is still holding up and still giving us what we want, it might be a little bit faster than we're used to. And mostly because we probably just want to spend time with these characters, you know? Like we don't want it to rush us through these things, you know?
Totally.
But it doesn't feel that way. It sounds like to you that it doesn't feel like we're rushing through. It feels like we're getting exactly what needs to happen.
I mean, with the caveat, right? That
Yeah.
I don't know where we're really going.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no endpoint in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know.
That's what I love about the story.
I'm
Yeah.
here to guess a
Yeah.
little bit, but I don't know if like the button to this is killing Abby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the button to this is going back to Jackson and having a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the button to this is, we're actually hyper aligned with what the WLF stands for.
Yeah.
And we end up wanting to like fight to restore some sort of civilization or society, right? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just kind of blown away that we only get 2 more episodes.
I will say the truncated season is always going to be annoying to me. But at the same time, this could also, I was thinking about it, I was like, well, this could have been a movie, like a trilogy or something.
For sure.
And it would have been even worse, you know? That normal game adaptations, they would have given us just like one movie for like maybe half the season or whatever. And it would have been so annoying to try and like feel this rush. And I was like, this story was originally meant for a video game.
Yeah.
It was not made to be a TV show. The fact that they have managed to adapt it into a TV show is fucking wild. And I can't complain when it only fills out 7 episodes as opposed to 10, even for the fact that it could have been shorter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like at least we're getting 7. So I have to take my, we're making a TV show brain out of it, because it's not a TV show. We're just telling The Last of Us, and we're telling it in however many episodes that needs to happen and that we can afford, right? Because there's a budget.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that happens.
I mean, they seem like they have a plan.
Seems like it, you know?
Yeah, who knows?
We'll see. Okay, well, let's get into our deep dive, go into it now that we've given our general thoughts. Let's talk about this, another cold open, right?
Yeah.
So we join in. I didn't catch the soldier's name, but it seems to be
Sergeant Park.
Park. No, Park is the second one that we meet. She's the one that she's talking to.
You mean the woman
first
who
one.
is
Yes.
interviewing, who we saw in the flashback with Isaac. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly someone important to Isaac, probably right-hand man kind of thing. And she comes into this hospital. She sees this door, which is braced, welded shut. Not just braced, welded shut.
Yeah.
They did not want this thing to be open. It's supposed to be permanent. And she assesses the situation all silently and then goes into a room where she runs into, as you mentioned, Sergeant Park.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation. Why did you kill your men? What is going on? We need these people. Also, am I here to execute you? Am I not here to execute you? What's going on? Kind of a very threatening, passive-aggressive way to go about it. I think she specifically is like, Sergeant Park says, well, if you were here to execute me, Isaac would have done it himself. And she's like, well, he's busy, so he sent me instead. Not the kind of like vote of confidence in terms of like, oh, you're not here to execute me, that she thought originally.
Yeah, no, execution's still on the table, for sure.
It's Sergeant Park. Her name's Elise, actually, is the name that I wrote down, right?
Sure.
At first I was confused because I thought this was like the WLF coming in and taking over this hospital. And it turns out that Elise is WLF. And that it seems that she has a certain amount of freedom within the WLF, which I found really, really interesting. That Isaac allows these units or these platoons, so to speak, to kind of run on their own.
Oh.
Because when this person comes in, she's like, your soldiers are very loyal to you.
Yeah.
And it's not, they're the same soldiers. They're all on the same side, but clearly there's like some division between units, you know?
Well, yeah, although she also does say that, like, she gave her orders, right? Like, she started to explain, like, my unit was tasked with, like, going down to, I think it's B2, the B2 level, and making sure it was secure, that there weren't any infected. And she was like, there's a couple. And the general lady cuts her off and is like, I gave you the orders. You don't need to repeat them back to me.
Right.
What happened? So it's like, I think that they get freedom with, like, the way in which
I think it's like who they choose.
Yes. And like how they carry out the
Yes,
orders
yeah.
is up to them. Like, they get to make their own plans.
Yeah.
But, like, she was doing what the head, ostensibly, I'm thinking of her as the head of the WLF.
Yeah.
Was doing. So, yeah, but I agree. It's interesting because there's autonomy. There's definitely some autonomy.
There's some sort of autonomy, which is the thing I wanted to bring up when you were like, what does the WLF think about, like, gay people and their thing? It's like, well, as long as you do what you're told and you're not, like, clearly there's, again, we talked about loyalty as a big thing for Isaac, and clearly these soldiers are loyal to this person. And why would they would have a problem with that was because if they're more loyal to this person than they are to Isaac and the WLF, then he would have a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's like, you can kind of do what you want as long as you're still following orders and you're still loyal here, is the gist of what I'm getting.
I buy that.
You know?
Totally.
And here she is trying to figure out, like, what do I do with you guys? Because we're fighting a war and we can't, what is going on here? We can't have dissension in the ranks. We can't have people killing our own. You know, we need you guys here. And also, like, they're clearly on your side. How do I need to get rid of you and everyone else here because there's something else going on?
Right. And this is where the scene gets, like, juicy, right? Because Sergeant Parker, you said Elise is her name?
Yes.
Either way, she's not really pushing back at all. And then we come to learn that one of her best soldiers that she ended up,
Leon,
was someone very important to her.
Yeah.
Right? It's her son. So certainly not like just like a brush off, you know, well, if this person has ulterior motives, you know, they might just be lying to me. Like, this is a the toughest call for, you know, a military person to make, right?
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what happened here. They were supposed to clear the hospital because hospital, to be fair, really great place to have in an apocalypse. You know, it's got infrastructure, lots of levels. You know, you could really utilize the space, I think, if you're needing to. You know, and clearly the WLF wants it. And
they're at war, right?
Yes.
Like, it's pretty vital.
Yes, absolutely. So they have to clear it, and whoever was here before or whatever happened here before, they just have to make sure things are fine. They go down to B1, expect to find something. Nothing's there. So then they keep going, expecting to find the same thing. They go down to B2. Turns out something's there. And what we learn is that this was one of the first places that accepted patients during the initial outbreak in 2003. That this hospital has been closed down, or these levels have been closed down since 2003. And the only thing that they hear over the radio is, it's in the air. Seal us in. Like, no hesitation, right? Again, great. Spores are back, baby. We are already at this point familiar with this in the game, but here it's like so interesting how they kind of twist the origin of spores. You know, that this isn't just something that happens with infected in general, but this is happening over a long period of time. That it's happening in the sealed room where nothing can get out. And of course, it's stagnant down there. It's just staying down there. And all you have is, as we find out later, infected that are breathing in. And every time they breathe out, they're releasing more spores.
Yeah.
And spores are not generally scary in the game because you just put on a gas mask and you're fine, you know? But when something's like in the air, when you don't even know, you're not like, you don't even get bit. Like that's gotta be brutal to make a call, to be a soldier and to realize that you're getting infected, but you haven't even, it's being prepared for war and battle and then dying in a car accident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like, it's so not, it doesn't compute as a soldier. That's gotta be the scariest thing to happen.
Because you're not fighting like an army anymore.
Yeah.
You're fighting a barely visible thing in the air.
Oh
I mean,
my
it's
God.
just like, I mean, that this is where like the show starts to also just, that sense of impending doom and apocalypse is like palpable, right? Because I think subconsciously there's a belief like, well, we can eventually shoot all the infected or lock them off, you know, or whatever. And now it's like this infestation or fungus or whatever it is spreading in ways that we didn't even think it could or know it could.
Yeah.
It's bad news.
Yeah. This is not as easy to stop, you know, when you can see, you can't see the enemy. Like, what do you do? Right.
Yep.
That's terrible. And then as you mentioned, as this soldier is leaving, she obviously decided she's heard all she needed to hear. She's not going to execute anyone. And she does turn around and give a little condolences of sorry you lost your son, which gutted me. I was absolutely gutted because no way was I even thinking like, I was like, Leon, man, she's like really cares about Leon. She's smoking. She has to like, the way they're talking about it is so weird. And then like to hear that information and it to put everything into perspective, like what actually happened here, that the things that were like unsaid now of like what we already know, losing a child in the apocalypse is hard. Losing a parent is like really hard. Losing anyone in this apocalypse is really, really hard. It's one thing to lose like your best soldier. It's another thing when like you put so much trust in this person and you assume that they were going to be fine, you know, because this is something that is predictable in the grand scheme of things. And it's someone that you're really close to. And that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to know that not only did her son die, but he died probably like gasping for breath, you know, of something that he didn't understand, of something that he couldn't fight against. Like, that's just all heartbreaking to me and like really gutted me in that moment. I was like, wow, like I really felt for this person, you know, and the WLF in that moment, you know, and you kind of get a sense of like who these, that, you know, again, these are people too that are also just trying to survive in a very violent world, you know, despite the fact that we don't like them, but you know, they're
also human.
Yeah. You know, any more thoughts about that scene or these moments or?
No, it's just so cold. It's like, you know, like even though she like offers condolences, I think she says something like, you resolve the situation heroically. We owe you a debt. Sorry about your son.
There is still the fact that like, Sergeant Park, I feel like I realized how much she was holding it together in that whole conversation in terms of like clearly needing to present herself in a certain way to just give the facts, to not let emotion get into it. Because had she done that, who knows what would have happened? Yeah. You know, there's clearly, as we said, there's an autonomy that can happen, but you got to follow the rules and you got to give us the data. You don't just give us your emotion. We have to keep that out of it. You know, it's a very Isaac way of doing things, it seems like. And maybe it's working, but maybe the people are feeling a little bit worn down by that. I think.
I'm sure, man. Living for extended periods of time in that kind of cold, disconnected, state the facts in an emotionless way. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, that's that. I will say right off before we move on from that scene, completely made up. Written by Craig Mazin. Yeah. Feels like a Craig Mazin scene, very similar to the other ones we got in season 1 of like them figuring out the bomb, like seal off the city, kind of thing. Them talking about the cordyceps in the 70s or whatever, of like an infection that might happen, These were all made up scenes, that like just fill out a little bit. Like we knew that the hospital existed. We knew that in the basement there were spores, kind of thing. But
sure.
Here, like, just gives a whole new context to things. And Craig Mazin, I think this is when he's really good, is these scenes and these moments.
Yeah, scene's awesome.
And so I loved it so much. After that, we cut to our main characters after the title sequence, and it's day 2.
In a gorgeous theater.
Sure.
An amphitheater. It looks like an old Broadway house.
Yeah,
or something.
I believe it's Orpheum.
Yeah.
If someone posted online, not exactly sure, but
I don't know Seattle.
Might be a
Sorry,
difference.
Seattle.
Yeah. I wonder how much I mean, in the game, I'm sure there's a lot of things that are based off of Seattle, and I'm sure that this theater exists. I wonder how accurate it is. If anyone's gone to this theater, please let us know, because I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder that's a great question. If this is like a little love letter to Seattle, if someone is like, oh my God, they used the Apollo or whatever, and like, or something.
And Dina is triangulating.
Yes, she is.
It's
very well, we find out later.
So hot. Let me just say it. Triangulating. Love it. I don't know what triangulating is. I couldn't do that if I ever asked.
Well, just the fact that Ellie does it. It's with triangles.
It's with triangles. I know that.
It is so awesome though that like every time Dina does something smart and she's like, I'm trying to fucking help you, idiot. Ellie's like, yeah, I know.
I could do that.
I obviously get it. It's like, okay, just be grateful. You're lost without her. Come on. Yeah, with triangle, it's like literally like. It just reminded me of that Aziz Ansari joke, which he's talking to his cousin about like the Wu-Tang Clan. He's like, oh yeah, those guys that do karate, right? And it's like, come on. Come on.
Yeah. I love it. It's making Dina look so much smarter in this episode than like Ellie, which is really interesting.
And it's not just the triangulating, right? Also, Dina is also the reason that we understand who the Scars are, and that the WF is comfortable just essentially broadcasting their position over the radio, because they're like, the Scars must be like the Amish or something. They don't use technology or something. Like Dina picks up on all of this just by listening to radio for a couple days. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, she's doing really good, and this is something that carries over from the game. She's like, they actually usually have like a huge like setup, like radio setup that's been abandoned here, like with knobs and shit, and Ellie has to go find a generator to be able to even run the thing, before they can figure out any information. It's great to have someone like this, your girl in the chair, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just this fun little moment. It is interesting though that Dina's doing like all the work, so it seems to be, while Ellie's just kind of like fucking around, like, oh, I found some power. Oh, great, thanks a lot.
Cool. You still have your gun? Thanks. I'm figuring out where they are and how they move.
I think we'll talk a little bit more about that, but there was a little moment that I loved where, she does like Ellie walks off to go explore the theater, and Dina does the whole like, hey, come back here. If you know that joke, right? It's a classic, like, hey, what's she going to say kind of thing. I loved it because I was like, did they just say I love you silently? Was that a I love you moment?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is really fun. This is really flirty.
Yeah.
I am disappointed though that they don't really leave that into interpretation, that they kind of bring back the I love you ish thing later on. I was like, I wish you could have left that for like later.
Oh, okay.
Like that it happens in the same as like I would have liked for them to have kept us guessing. I think more.
I hear that.
As opposed to there is some things where I feel like the subtlety is getting lost, where they just kind of like spell it out for you, like what people are saying and feeling and thinking. I was like, I've been feeling it more and more, and I was like, I could have done without it. You know, they gave us a moment, but then they paid it off later. And I'm like, oh well, I
don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I will say that sometimes when it's like so on the nose and everything, it's like a reminder to me that these characters are like 18 or 19 years old. Because like when you're in like high school or like, you know, early first year of college or whatever.
Yeah.
You need your partner to say, I'm your boyfriend or I'm your girlfriend. You need your partner to say, I love you. You need to say, we're in a relationship, right?
Sure.
Right. And so for me,
Maybe.
part of some of this stuff is like very, very like young love needing to like check the boxes and say the things.
But they don't say it here though.
They say it pretty soon though.
That's the thing, is that they say it pretty soon. Well, they say it, they don't say it. So I guess it's still like in question, right? You know,
Yeah.
But yeah, fun little moment. I like that look, but
Yeah.
it's not, I think it takes away our thunder, because like it was something that I could like analyze and overanalyze, but then they really reveal it later. It's like, well, what am I analyzing with it now? You know what I'm saying?
Why are these teenagers still on the nose?
You know, so it's more for us podcasters. Like, give us a break here. You know, we're trying to like
We'll connect the dots. No, I hear you.
She goes into the theater while Dina is triangulating. Stop talking dirty to me, Dina. Jeez. And I'll stop making
If anybody knows how to triangulate, get Mattias's DMs.
Sometimes I just want to commit to the bit, you know? I love the song that plays when they go into the theater, or when Ellie goes, well, they go into the theater. It's just like one of my favorite songs from the soundtrack, you know? And just a great, beautiful moment to just, take it all in, you know? And it's like, I don't know what the song title is called or at what moments it plays exactly. But obviously it brings back memories. And this is like her like getting a glimpse into like the old world.
Yeah.
She's never seen anything like this. This is like what our kind of like ancient cathedral, you know, or our ancient like ruins of like Alexandria or, you know, or Rome or the Colosseum or whatever. And she's like, this is just a theater which we take for granted nowadays. Like we don't go to theaters anymore, you know?
I mean, like a little bit post-COVID, you know.
I think in the most popular, in the popular context, like these kinds of theaters are less frequented less and less for like movie theaters, sure.
Yes.
But movie theaters are not made like this.
Totally.
Unless they're like old renovated theaters. Like this is something that we take for granted, and she's just like in awe of, which she should be. We would be, you know? It's a beautiful structure. It survived not only apocalypse, but like since the 1920s, probably, you know?
I mean, Lord, yeah. I mean, and also, I guess, right, if you're someone like Ellie who has only existed in the post-infected or post-apocalyptic world, like she's probably never seen that many not infected people in the same room together.
Yeah.
You know? This is like something that I think what I was saying a second ago is like something we became aware of.
Well, they do movie nights in the Jackson.
Yeah, all 14 of them.
There's more than that.
There's not enough to fill that theater.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I remember feeling that way, like, during lockdown for COVID, and like coming out of that being like, ugh, I miss going to like a big party where there's just 100 people standing around. I miss going to like a concert, not necessarily in a theater like that, but like, you know, where you're 150, 250 people pressed up against each other, checking out a band or whatever. And that's something that Ellie or Dina has literally never experienced, right? Because even though they do movie night at Jackson, and there are probably a couple hundred people that live there, it's like they know everybody, and it's their controlled little copacetic society. Not to knock it, right? Whereas like that place is like a public gathering space.
I'm reminded about when she finds a journal in season 1 of the diary of the little girl, and she's like, "Oh, this is what they had to worry about, like what skirt to wear, or like what, you know, kissing boys or whatever. Yeah, like whatever she said. I can't remember exactly, but like, yeah. I imagine like does she even know what this place is like used for necessarily? That what she would be like blown away to be like, do people dressed up to go see people play on the stage, you know, that it was you know, they had fun, that it was like this is just probably beyond her, you know. She's like, how does like people just got to do this? They got to go out, they got to entertain, you know.
This also like ties into the moment that like happens in this scene where she starts to pick up a guitar and play, right? And part of my frustration with the last episode was like,
I wrote this in my notes. It seems like this was the moment you wanted.
Good on you, Craig. But no, for real, is that like in the last episode, she sees a guitar and she just picks up and plays a beautiful rendition of Take On Me. And I'm like, oh, why is it so easy? You know, didn't your stand-in dad teach you this? And this is for sure probably the first time you've had time to pick up a guitar since he passed and all this stuff. But whatever, that moment's about her and Dina. I get it. But I'm saying like, this was like the scene where I was like, yeah, right. She picks up a guitar and then it's something about it. It's too much. She plays a couple bars and is like,
can't do it.
And I was like so satisfied because I was like, right, playing guitar seems like it would be complicated for Ellie, and it is.
Yeah. Why do you think it was hard for her in that moment?
I mean, I think for sure it reminds her of Joel, right? But I think also the space, right? It's like she's not in some like cute little corner of a music store, you know? Even though it's an empty audience, it's still very presentational.
Feels like all eyes are on her, but no eyes are on her. Right?
Exactly. So I imagine that's incredibly both vulnerable and lonely, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But all I mean to say is I appreciated it a lot.
This is one of those things I don't want to keep secret. I feel like it's something that we would have found out by now, if I recall correctly, in the structure of the game. And it's a very mild spoiler. I'm sure you'll find out next week.
Tune out for a second, everybody.
Well, maybe, yeah. I'm sure you'll find out next week. But the reason that it was hard for us, not, of course, what you said is correct, I think, but also the fact that this is a song that he sang. This is probably like,
that makes even more sense.
This would be like the first song I think he would have taught her. We're used to hearing him sing the song.
I see.
Which to me is the difference of like why the other one was so easy, is because it's a song that she learned, that she decided to do, you know? And then this is a song where she's like alone, and she's like, again, when I talked about like how this is her remembering Joel, like she specifically is trying to bring up like that song, the one that she that reminds her of him, you know?
That makes sense to me. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And so, yeah, sorry if that spoiled anything for everyone at this point. You would have already known, but I also just, that's why it's heartbreaking for me, you know, because it's like that. I know those first few bars of that song now, like so well in his voice, you know, and to hear her like struggle through it, I was like, it was definitely that moment where I was like, just stay in this theater, Ellie. Like you could be here, and I just felt so sorry for her, and it reminded us again of like why she's here, you know, what she lost, you know, and you just really felt for her, you know. Yeah, totally. such a powerful moment. But yeah, she's not able to like get through it at this time. And so she puts the guitar down and she walks away again. And she goes to Dina, and she's figured it out. She's figured out how they do their patrols. I'm not sure how triangulation works. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like this, but she figured it out. I understand. There's 3 sides.
Triangles, come on.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared, somewhere along the lines of how she figured out like where each post is. I'm not exactly sure, but
that's why you're not Dina.
Give me a break. And they are there's this big ass something that they're gonna go to, and Ellie says, Dina's like, well, you know, it's pretty reckless, you know, to be doing this, we have to go through this whole kind of stuff. kind of a little bit maybe saying like, are we sure we want to do this? And Ellie's like, of course, let's go be reckless. Because she just played the guitar and she's like, no, I still need to get to Abby.
Yep.
No matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. And so they go. Anything else you want to say about these scenes that I might have missed or whatever that you maybe like noticed? Otherwise we can move on.
I'm ready to move on.
Great. Dina and Ellie are walking along through Seattle. It is getting close to nighttime, I think, because they waited all day. Actually, there is one thing I wanted to say. I forgot to bring this up last week, and I'm going to bring it up this week.
Oh, I know what we're talking about.
And I did try and post about it online. Where's Shimmer? What is Shimmer doing? Is she still in the fucking music shop? Just sitting there listening to a vinyl record or something?
She's learning drums so that they can have a kick-ass girl rock trio band after all this.
I felt like what I had to say is like, yes, Shimmer's missing at this point. And this is one of those like Schrodinger's cat kind of situations. Exists but doesn't exist. Dead, not dead. What is going on with this with this horse, right? So funny to me that they just kind of the reason I bring it up now is like they realize that they need to go at night to get to this thing, right? That they're not, they might have left a little early, but I don't know if it took them all day to walk to this big ass something, So they had all day to go back to the music shop and get Shimmer. Come on, give me a break. Like, where is what is and
like also like ostensibly horse useful. Like like even if it's not in this specific mission to go in this place, it's like keep it around, like, right? Like, I don't know.
The reason this is important, again, another mild spoiler, would have already happened if not for the fact that we haven't seen this horse and I don't know what they're planning on doing. Shimmer's dead at this point.
Wow. Wow. And they don't give a fuck.
like in the game, Shimmer lasts a little while, but like rest in peace, Shimmer.
And pour one out.
And
for
now
Shimmer.
at this point, they decided, rightfully so, we don't want to kill the horse. Great on them. But now you're not even giving us the horse.
Just disappears.
Where's this horse? Yeah. Like, I would love to know that she is okay. So if you're out there and you feel the same way, please.
I do wonder if this is going to be one of our key differences between show and game. If Shimmer's just going to magically appear trotting down a road, at some opportune moment.
Shimmer's on her own revenge quest right now. she's the end of the end of this season is going to be her losing someone really close to her.
Some son of a bitch branded her 13 years ago. And she's out there to find him.
Our real main character. Abby's not the threat, it's Shimmer. You left me in the music shop.
Hey, man. We all got our wants and needs.
Well, instead, Dina and Ellie are walking. They're hoofing it themselves. I just wrote down Santa Fe. I love it. It just always makes me think of Newsies. Santa Fe.
Christian Bale's best movie.
On my own. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. I ain't lonely. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to bring back Codependent Content apologizes for things. I'm sorry for doing that.
I won't apologize. I love Newsies.
So they're walking along and they run into some dead Seraphites that were left there by the WLF. And, on the wall it says "Feel Her Love," which we've seen before. And it also says something else that I'm not going to repeat. A message left there by the WLF. Yeah. Clearly with the Seraphite dead bodies there. And Ellie, at this point, it hits her in the way that you thought it might hit her a little bit earlier. It's like, oh, wait, I have a pregnant person with me. Which obviously pregnancy, as we all know in media, like makes people so much more fragile. That's what I've learned.
Right.
Yeah. And so she's starting to think that like we shouldn't be doing this, and it's like we should turn back. You should go back.
Yeah.
Does she say we should turn back? Does she say you should go back? I should have. What's the context of what you got there?
I think she says something like.
It seems like we both go back.
Yeah, I think. Well, because I think both of them exist. I think she's just like, we can go back, or like you can
Yeah.
go back and I'll join you. I think she floats it both ways.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to rewatch it.
But yeah, so and then Dina, you asked me before the podcast, like, why do you think she told this story?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like I could see, again, we talked about Isabella Merced's acting last time, and there's like a clear like defeatedness on her face when Ellie was like, "Let's go back." Like, you don't. This, I'm so dumb. I shouldn't have brought you out here and whatever. And then you see like her like Dina's face fall, you know, and she just trudges forward, and she's like, "Do you know how?" The first person I killed, which I didn't know. I was surprised to learn. I was like, you mean the person you killed last week?
Yeah.
Is what I thought. But no, there's a whole story here. Something we never got to learn about Dina. And it's wild.
It's brutal.
And it makes me learn a lot more than I thought I knew about her, and like why she is like the way she is. And it's so crazy. And I love the way that she does it. She's like, we get it. We've been traumatized. Everyone here has. This is not, how you minimize your own trauma.
Yep.
To share things with people, you just kind of like you don't need to hear like every little piece detail of the story. Like she's kind of moved past it in her own way, because she had closure there, right? But to me, again, to go back to why you asked that question, to me it was such a betrayal for her to hear that like Ellie was like losing trust in Dina after how much she has shown her, like, I'm good at this, I know what I'm doing, I deserve to be here, and yet you keep telling me like you want me to go back, that I can't handle it, that that Ellie was losing trust in her, and Dina was just so that was like a kind of a betrayal to her. I know there's another word that I'm missing, but that's the kind of like idea, that she had to prove herself to Ellie that like, I deserve to be here. I understand what you're going through because I've gone through something similar.
Yeah.
Like, I lost my actual family, which Ellie has. She understands, but she didn't get to know her family.
Yeah.
And we hear this like heartbreaking scene. And of course, I assume that Dina blames herself for what happened because she could have been there. But because of who she was and what she wanted, she decided to leave. I wanted to go outside the cabin. My mom would never let me, but I left anyway. And she's the one that had the gun. No one would mess with her. And she clearly knew how to shoot it, but she wasn't there. And I bet she is so guilt-ridden that she wasn't.
For sure.
That what could have happened? What could she have done? And it gives you a little bit more of like why she is the way she is, in terms of like why she's not specific about rules, but she likes having knowledge. She likes being close. She likes there's a bit of responsibility that she takes on from like for other people and the people that she's close to, and why she is very much on this revenge journey as well. Why does she deserve to be here? Because she has lost people before, and she lost someone else that was close to her, someone that I think she was starting to see a little bit like a father figure as well, in some way, as we got in earlier scenes from Jackson, So as much as she's not Ellie, and she doesn't have the closeness that Ellie does, she doesn't have the context of everything that we do in terms of Ellie's relationship with Joel. She's also on the same kind of journey,
Yes. They're similar.
Yeah. How do you take all this story and whatnot?
The story itself is sad, brutal, very dark. But like, I think the thing that's like growing louder in my mind as we learn more about these heroes' backstories is like, there is a little bit of either cognitive dissonance or failure failure to be self-aware with them perpetuating cycles of violence. And I'm curious how we're going to...
Which we talked about last week.
We mentioned this a little bit, right? But it's like, I mean, as much as I get wanting to go and kill Abby, right? How many Abbies is Ellie creating with all the people that she kills along the way to get to Abby, right? Similarly with Dina's story, you know? If the goal is to live happily and have a safe life with someone you love, and to raise a child, is this mission or this task really suiting you or serving you, right? And I think it's fascinating because I get wanting to avenge. I get wanting revenge or justice, whatever that means, right? But also, like, you are, right? It's never a one-to-one in these scenarios, right? You always have to threaten and kill and disturb so many other parties to get to that final thing that is what you thought you wanted. And then all the ripples that you cause in getting there, it seems like they always come back. So yeah, I like our girls a lot. Personally, I'm like, I kind of hope they bail. You know?
I think this is your like our cognitive dissonance, right? Is what you're feeling, right? It's the idea that like you, right? Because we understand like the end of the typical message of these things is like, hey, this is not good, you know?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But even like with this episode, right?
Yeah.
I hate to, I'm not trying to jump around too much, but like we're going to get to a scene. We're going to get to a scene in a little bit where Ellie brutalizes somebody that was helping Abby, right? I don't know if it's justifiable at all. And I also think that it's probably going to come back to haunt Ellie, and not just her psyche. I mean, like, harm her physically. But, you know, it's like, and how many more times and how many more people does she need to go through to get to Abby, you know? It's tough. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely like get to that scene, and I think we'll talk more about like the cognitive dissonance. I mean, it is, you know, for Dina, I think it's about one person. I don't know if Dina specifically is about like getting to anyone else but Abby. Obviously, we need to get to Nora, but I think she just assumes we're getting information and we're going to go.
Yeah.
You know? And we'll talk a little bit more about the Nora scene specifically later on. So I think like there's still a change in perspective. Like even though Dina does understand and she does feel and had a relationship with Joel just like Ellie, and I think it's important for Ellie to remember, there was somewhat like closure, you know, for Dina, right? She did get to kill that oppressor, you know, and it was really hard for her. But she said, if I hadn't done that, if he had been gone whenever I got there, if he had run afterwards, you know, I would have hunted him down forever.
Yeah.
You know, that is still a heartbreaking scenario, which is exactly what we're talking about. Like how, like forever is a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
about as long as it gets.
But that's the feeling that she has now, that she knows that Ellie has now, and she understands it now.
There is a difference though.
Sure. Yeah.
That I think, and again, you know, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's part of this conversation. I want to talk about it. The scenario that Dina describes with her family, right, has a lot of very big differences between how they were killed, why they were killed, and why Joel died.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's she mentions is like it was one thing for a raider to come kill her family, but
yeah.
and Abby and her crew were not just raiders. And when they came in, they're like, it's one thing. Yeah, Joel died. She understands that. And it was family. She understands that. But the way they did it, he didn't deserve that. And that's what she's harping on here in the story too. It's like there's a little bit of closure for her with her family. That's a whole like foregone conclusion. But she knows that like it's different because of how they did it and that he didn't deserve it.
That's the thing though.
In her estimation. Well, she doesn't know anything. But
she doesn't know a lot.
But does anyone deserve what they did to Joel, like the torture, the beating, the golf club?
Probably not.
You know,
I think torture's bad even with literal Satan. Yeah. But I mean, for the sake of her example and relating to Ellie, these are not one-to-one examples. There's a big part of Joel that Ellie knows about that Dina does not know about. And I wonder how Dina would feel if Ellie told her why these people hunted down, tortured, and murdered Joel. I feel like the story that she presents about her family is a very different scenario than why Abby went for Joel.
But I don't think she knows.
She who?
Ellie. I don't think Ellie knows.
Oh, interesting.
I know we get to in the later scene, and I know she says that she knows, but what she knows and what she doesn't know, like I don't think at this point that she knows why they killed Joel.
Yeah.
Because at this point we've not had any clear indication of like fireflies, right? That Dina doesn't know they were fireflies. Ellie, I don't think knows that they were fireflies at this point of the conversation. There's nothing in the show that can show me that they have this info, and definitely not in the game, right?
Sure.
So I think that they're still at a loss as to like why that happened. I think that's my interpretation of that. That's not to derail your argument, though. I just wanted to say, like, to me, like, I'm not getting the idea that
I'm not as convinced.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking a lot about another scene that we want to get to, but I think we should talk about it now.
I think I really want to save Nora for later. I think it's something that we can get.
Okay.
It's just, it's definitely, because at the end of the day, like the story that Dina gives, and the reasoning for all this stuff, I think feels a little bit separate from what actually happens. There's a lot of criticism, I think, that I will give voice to, is the idea that like it feels like Dina is the one running this revenge story, this journey. She's driving the train, especially in this moment, because Ellie has to be convinced, so to speak, right? And it's weird because I think that's true, but not true. That I think that this is a little bit of a weaker scene in terms of, like, I like the story, I like getting to know more about Dina, but I do understand that criticism. Like, it's like, why does Ellie need to be convinced, right? It should be Ellie convincing Dina. You know, it should be Ellie arguing because she's the one that like feels this, you know? I think this info is just for us.
Yeah.
I literally think it's just for us as an audience. I think it's just giving it to remind us, like, hey, we've had some time off. If you haven't forgotten, like, this is about what they did to Joel, you know, that it's about that this is he didn't deserve that they need to be on this revenge thing, which is also where you talked about that cognitive dissonance thing. Is like, we in the game and we're typically at this point, like, I remember just feeling this general push to get to do it, because we were on Ellie's side, you know, in terms of what her goals were and what her motivations were, and I understood it, and I was generally supportive of that, you know. There wasn't really a cognitive dissonance. I felt that, like, no, they don't deserve any sort of mercy or whatever because of what they did, like. And we haven't, I feel like, felt that so much in the show, that we've gone back and forth in this kind of thing. And it almost feels like the writers know that, like, hey, we've had like all these like time off away from it. And, you know, you as an audience probably need to be back in Ellie's headspace of like why they're here, like why it matters. You know, that despite the idea that, like, we know that, like, it's a classic tale. Like revenge be bad, you know?
Yeah.
But our characters don't know that, right? In the sense that like we, you know, House of R says this a lot, you know, we love a character on an arc, right? That this is supposed to be the journey of like, of feeling, of getting into that cycle, that they have to go on that journey. They have to get to that conflict in order to learn whatever lesson that they're supposed to learn about revenge or whatever, you know? We can't just obviously like end the story. So you have to remind us and them like what's at stake and why they are here. Why is the story happening?
Yeah.
You know? So as always, we go back to Jackson and, you know, we just have a funeral and that's it. You know, we just have a kid and raise a kid and do it. That's not a story, right? There's no learning thing for Ellie there. She doesn't get past her trauma. So she still needs to be like wrestling with this. And I think that's the point of the scene, is to like remind us that of what she is dealing with. I mean, we had the guitar scene, which I think was good enough, you know, but then we also have this on top of it, you know. There's a whole lot going on here. It's like, it feels a little clunky, but also like, I feel like it's for us, not necessarily for her. Yeah. You know, do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making any sort
I do.
sense? Yeah.
I think I definitely think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I disagree.
In terms of what the scene is, or like what the
is that I think that like, I hear everything you're saying makes sense. No part of me is like, no, you're not getting it. But I think that without the context of the game, it seems to me, like just watching the show, that this scene exists to show us that Ellie is struggling about whether to continue going on or not. That Ellie has found new purpose, that Ellie has things that she cares about, and that she's starting to realize that revenge is maybe futile, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Yeah.
And that I think that like the difference between, that's why to me it didn't feel clunky, is because like the guitar scene is just about, oh, I miss Joel. But then the scene with Dina is like Dina is trying to be a good friend and partner by being like, go get your revenge. This is what you want, right? And when you're 19 and you watch your dad get brutally murdered, do you know how hard it would be to say, I just don't want to go through the hassle of killing a bunch of people when it risks you and my lives? That's so hard. That's so impossible to be like, yeah, this thing that I said I wanted, right? It's like when you tell your mom when you're 18, like I want to go to the dance, or I want to wear these jeans, and then like they take you to the store and they show you the jeans and you're like, shit, I might look fucking dumb in these. And your mom is like trying to be on your team and they're like, here's the jeans you wanted. All right. It takes so much effort when you're at that age to be like, I actually don't want this, right? That's what I see. I see Ellie really struggling.
No, that's for sure. But I think that's where a little bit of the clunkiness comes in, because like I agree. I think you're picking. I do understand what you're saying there. That there's like definitely like a struggle happening or whatever. But you know, that's also what we're supposed to understand of like Abby. Like as you said, like it's hard to like go back. Like they're here. They spent however long to get here. Like at this point, they might as well see something through, right? Like, and they had a goal, and they have to continually keep that alive. But we saw with Abby, like that stayed alive because of these dreams that she was having, because of the trauma, because of the things, right? This is where I wish that we get a little flashback later on, and we're going to get a flashback episode next week. I hope that's not spoiling anything for anyone, but it is clearly going to happen, right? And I wish that we had just gotten a little flashback sooner, right? Because I think that guitar scene and where these flashbacks usually happen, you know, the flashback is for me is like, it's not something that Ellie is seeing. It's for us as an audience. It's just a visual, you know. It's just reminding us of like what their relationship was, what the story was, you know, like everything that she already experienced that we didn't get to experience, you know. So we kind of get into that headspace again, you know. But I wish it had come sooner. I wish it had come like during the guitar scene, which is where I thought they were going to put some of these flashbacks, is during the guitar scene, you know, that to remind us like that she does keep this alive, that yes, it is harder and she is struggling, but she also has to continually like remind herself that she has to continually like find like that connection. And I wish that visual of that connection would have like come back to us, even if it's not her, like we're literally remembering that flashback, that it's that's what it was for the guitar scene. As I mentioned last week, that it feels like when she plays, this is her version of the dream, so to speak, you know, because if you don't get that, it would be easier to like turn around to make the decision to go back, you know? And I do think she is struggling. I think you're right that they are like, and I think Dina sees that as well. I don't think that's a bad assessment of the scene. Yeah, I just feels like it's that decision to like push forward isn't quite as like overt, you know, that it would be easier to turn back at this point, I think, than it is to like remember, which I think later on is where we get like her clear, like, oh yeah, this is what Ellie's doing kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that, that's, I don't think you're wrong. I just think it's just, it just feels a little, I don't know. I still think it feels a little clunky to me, you know, to kind of like put it here. But I do think you're right. She is struggling with that, but I think but she keeps it alive somehow, you know, because otherwise, like Abby also would have.
You mean it's clunky though? I'm just trying to make sure I understand. You mean clunky because it's like, I think what you said earlier was that it feels like Dina is driving this mission more than Ellie is. Is that what's clunky about it? Because like, if that's the case, I'm like, I think that's true, but I don't find that clunky. I'm like, Dina's just, again, trying to be helpful. She thinks this is what Ellie wants. So she's providing the opportunities to be really like, here's how we get that. Right. And to be fair, right. I get Ellie's our main character. She should be the driver. Man, when she fucking sees Nora, I don't think she needs anyone helping her drive this story anymore. Yeah. Right. It's like so much harder to fall into that like leader role when it's like, I got the woman of my dreams who's pregnant with a kid and they want to raise it with me. And we're in a mildly dangerous situation, but we could literally turn around and walk away right now. That is a hard decision. When you're eye to eye with one of the people that helped assassinate, murder, torture the most important person in the world to you at that point, Ellie doesn't need a kick in the ass at all. She goes autopilot. Yeah. You know? So to me, it made sense. I was like, okay. But yeah.
No, I think maybe there's something I think when it's clunky, I think it's not necessarily like what you don't know. It's just more the fact that like, I think it's a combination of like having to put like all like the love story stuff kind of like within this context. Is like, we want to be we're in two different headspaces. Yeah. I think personally, it's like, we like having this love story and but we've also like, want to understand where Ellie is, right? Yeah. It doesn't feel like Ellie's been there until she's there, you know? And she is able to jump back and forth, but it has been feeling like we've been on a, ever since, you know, they kind of got to Seattle, it's just been like sweet moment after sweet moment, you know, with a little bit in between of, you know, of like almost losing each other, but now they're, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, we're here to kill some people because like we lost someone dear to us. That's where it feels like a little bit clunky, I guess, you know, that we're, you know, and there is, I will say like differences in the game, but it's not really for me coming from like the game. It just feels like, I think we're just, it felt weird, like to like remind us at that moment, you know, where I was like, I guess we could have been reminded a little sooner, you know, or it could have been done in a different way. It's just coming. It just feels like this moment specifically to be like, hey, he didn't deserve this. And like, I would have hunted this person down forever. And I understand where you are. And like, I can go or we can go, you make the choice, you know? Sure. And, it felt more for our benefit than for Ellie's, you know?
You mean like, I could totally see it too. It's like, you know, she picks up the guitar and we get like a smash cut of like Joel's last moment, like she had in the hospital or something like that. Or like, you know, Joel handing her a guitar or something like that. And then it's like, right. Yeah. We see her purpose. Yeah. I would like to, I'd like it to mean maybe even not even coming from Dina, but more coming from Ellie. Yes.
is
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know? So yeah, but it's not to say that like I don't agree with what you're saying, because those are really cool insights that you're pulling in from a scene that like again doesn't really exist in the game, and like I'm struggling to understand like where it's things are like getting condensed and combined, and I'm like, where am I supposed to be right now? As a person or a viewer, So yeah, but great conversation. I loved hearing that, because it does make me feel better about it for sure.
Yeah.
And I did love the scene. And I did love hearing more of Dina's story.
Totally.
I mean, getting to know Dina a little bit more.
And like in general too, this is one of the things that made me love the episode so much, is that like we're finally filling in pieces. Yeah. Right. We're like, we learn about spores and like this whole underground. Yeah. We learn about Dina's backstory. Mm-hmm. In a scene or two, we're going to learn about what's been happening with some folks that we cared about in Jackson. Right. Yeah. We're going to, we find some folks that we're on the hunt for. Right. It's like, we're checking real boxes, and I liked that a lot. Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on. I think to
we talked that one out.
What I wrote down as the big ass something. This section. Here's my first note. They get through the fence. They get through the WLF.
I wrote, of course, Dina has a lock cutter. I was like, fuck yeah, girl. Of course
she came prepared, because she has the stuff.
Of course.
Because all Ellie has is guns.
She eats ammo for breakfast.
Their conversations about like the plan and all the kind of stuff is like a lot of fun. But I love this moment where they're piecing it together. It's like, why are they not in this building? Clearly it's infected and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, well, there's an open door. I'm just going to go check it out. And I was like, you, the person that can't get infected? Sure. In sarcasm. And I love that, Ellie has like a little superpower. Yeah. She's kind of that's like an advantage. Why not? Why don't we use that?
It's also like so video game. No, don't send the non-immune person into the potentially infected building first. Yeah, Ellie is for sure the scout.
It's where it's like, okay, Ellie, you can't triangulate, but you can take a bite.
Yeah, so, you do know how to take a bite for sure.
I guess I can give you that. You're a little bit useful.
Yeah.
Oh man. What do I say about this? She looks in, and then Dina's like, well, what's it look like? How's it looking? And she's like, it's haunted but empty.
Like us.
Just like us.
Oh my God. That line.
Come on. Great. Thanks a lot. New motto to like live by. That's
haunted and empty. Wow.
I'll give the writers that one. That was a good line.
That was great.
Feeling exactly how everyone is. I almost was like, no, too much.
Yeah.
It's a quip. But I was like, you're not wrong. We are very haunted but empty, as evidenced by the fact that we are watching this show about trauma.
Yep.
And hurting ourselves. Why? Because we need to feel something. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the moment also before they go in where I said, I wish they had just left us guessing, and she's like, this is why I love you, Ellie. And she's like, oh, you said I love you? And I was like, I said it out loud, like to myself. I was like, she said the thing. And I was like, I didn't think Ellie was going to say the thing, but she said the thing. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess, again, what are we analyzing this for?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, okay, so now, granted, she doesn't actually say I love you.
Yeah. They
don't actually say it back. So I guess it's still
next episode.
Do you have any? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this little moment?
No, I think it's tender. I think it's cute. There's something that happens right before there, where there's like a flashlight, and it's hitting Ellie's hair, and the way that her hair kind of moves in the light made it look like the cordyceps tendril spores for a second. And I was like, what the fuck? Oh God. And then
I missed that.
Nothing came of it. I had like a freak out moment. And
probably
then,
like a fluke. Yeah. But
yeah. And then she was like, this is why I love you. And I was like, oh, okay. we're chilling. It's like, thank God.
Yeah, different thing altogether.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought the movement was tender. I thought it was sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. The plan is either knives or run.
Right. We can't use
What they
guns
say.
because guns are loud.
Yeah. I love that. Knives or run. That's just good. Again, more good mottos for life. I'm just, I can take that on.
There's also a lovely moment between them because when she's just like, Dina is like, so you're not going to fire your gun, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, of course. What do you mean? What? She's like, you literally always fire your gun.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I don't know what you're thinking in this moment, but like, this is one of those moments where I'm like yelling at the screen. I was like, it's going to be stalkers. It's going to be stalkers. Or I was thinking of like something else, you know?
Yeah.
There is one more infected we haven't run into. So I was like curious if like we would like run into it. And I know I'm not talking about anyway. But yeah, so I was like, I assumed it was like stalkers. So I was like, oh, of course it's going to be stalkers. And then they show up and they get in there and it's like one. And then it's like, oh wait, there's three. And then it's like, wait a second, they turn around. There's one.
It's a room full of fucking stalkers.
Holy.
Horrifying.
Okay. This was
So scary.
such a good scene. Again, when they find these actors and they stunt people to do these like movements or whatever, and it's like, they could do this CGI. We have models of these things, but I was like, there's no way that any real person could pull off what they put in a video game, but they pull it off so well. And then this is where, again, I call out the stunt coordinator who gave them the movement training, Marnie Eng.
Yeah.
She did so well to coach these people into being stalkers, because I know how the game plays out, and I'm like, are they going to make it out of here?
Yeah,
What
dude.
is going on?
They should not have. Like, ooh.
This is a really, really cool scene. Really exciting, really scary. Because now we know it's like these stalkers can get near Ellie and they can bite her.
Oh, yeah.
And she's the main character, so I guess plot armor or whatever, but she could die here. Like, it's not just a thing. It's like, this is actually like a threat. We learned this earlier in the season.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, what a cool set piece to put Dina into the cage.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And to feel trapped and like vulnerable, but like you're safe but not safe at the same time.
Yeah, because she's safe for a little bit, and then they start like peeling it back. And I was like, oh my God.
We already know that like a fence doesn't keep them out.
No. Temporary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They will like eat their fingers off to like get through a hole or something.
Yep.
You know, like it is wild and scary scene. I wish I knew like the Wyoming national anthem, because I wanted to blow a fucking horn when I heard that gunshot. And like, if you were there with me in the room and I was like, yes, and here he is.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming. Context is different from the game, but I was like, there's only one way to get out of this. And who is it? Captain Wyoming himself, with his fucking assault rifle, which I will say, not an assault rifle, but we'll get into that later. Well, this one might be an assault rifle. I don't know what you're saying. It's a whole different, that's a whole whatever, but I'll just say it. He comes in, saves them like the hero he is. Jesse's back.
God bless Jesse.
Jesse. Oh my God.
Headshot.
Never have we been so happy. I bet you never has Dina and Ellie been so happy. The same guy that they're like, yeah, tell us the rules again about what we're supposed to do. Oh, yeah. Oh, making jokes now, Ellie?
Yeah.
Dina?
Totally.
And he came with a big ass gun and the big ass something is what I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What'd you think? Did you
I
get
was
excited?
stoked. I was stoked.
What went through your mind? I would like to know, because for me, there was no question.
Oh,
I'm
it's
just
interesting.
curious. Yeah.
Man, I thought it was Tommy. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's Tommy. here he is.
Now, is it because I spoiled that for you, or
No,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you did mention that, like, in the game, Tommy goes after Abby's crew and whatnot. But I thought it was them just because I was like, I don't know another person in their universe that it could be.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, no, Jesse's Mr. fucking Jackson.
Yeah.
He's like the heir apparent to running Jackson, and so he's going to stay home.
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd leave. I was very glad to see him.
Yeah. Now, he didn't say the line that I wish he would have said, because in the video game, like, he does save Ellie. Different context. I'm sad that we're going to miss the action scene that I really wanted to have from the game. Really good scene, involves a truck and you having to shoot while someone's driving. You know, it's really cool. Clearly different context about how he comes back. But whenever he comes in the game, he has a line to Ellie. He's like, "Did you think I was going to let you do this alone?" And I missed that so much because I was like, "Oh, so good." It's not a coincidence. They mentioned the behind the scenes as well, but it's not a coincidence for us as an audience, and probably for Ellie, that they mentioned that when this first starts happening, he's blurry, and Ellie is probably thinking, like, is Joel here? Or, like, immediately, you know? That wasn't my first thought, but they mention it. Craig mentions it in the behind the scenes. Like, okay, like, yeah, like, there's a idea there, you know?
He's the one who always saves me kind of thing in these situations.
You know, it's probably supposed to send you as an audience for, like, as a question of, I can't put myself in that spot. I would have loved to have known, like, what my first thought would have been. Like, who is that, you know? But for me, there's no question. But I guess for you as an audience member, it could be a definite question of, like, who is this, and, like, why does it feel like Joel? You know? That said, this is one of the most controversial things about the game before it ever came out, because in the marketing material in the video game, they put a moment of Ellie getting saved very similar to how Jesse does it, and she turns around and it's Joel, and he's like, "Did you think I was going to let you do this alone?" In the trailer, it's old man Joel saying this to throw you off the scent that he's going to die in the video game. And it turns out that moment was actually just Jesse, that they actually replaced the character and gave that character a line. So I don't think it's a pure happenstance that it's supposed to feel a little bit like Joel, you know, because a little bit of a homage to that or whatever. It's interesting there, you know. I wonder what was going through Ellie's head, you know, because there was no indication that they were going to be saved, you know. They were gone for good, you know. Yeah. So Deus Ex Machina, wow. You know.
Deus Ex Machina.
I know how to triangulate. Okay,
bunch of Latin words, whatever. I will say, knowing that that's the line that he says too, I wish he said it.
I wish he said it.
It's not only is it a good line, but it's got, like, amazing double entendre, given that he's the daddy of their child and stuff.
Well, that's why.
But he doesn't know yet.
This is why I think that he doesn't say it. Is because there is a clear. Again, we're condensing some things a little bit.
Sure.
There's a clear anger there from Jesse. He's a little frustrated. He's a little annoyed. He's like, "Do I look like I want you talking to me about this right now?" Or whatever he says, right? He's on a mission.
He's risking his life,
you know,
for their reckless actions.
And again, I'm going to bring up the behind the scenes, because they tell me things that I didn't really pick up on, but I was like, why is he, like, kind of angry? But it's like, oh yeah, he still loves Dina, and Ellie put Dina in danger. Yeah. And he's like, you're both out here risking your life, and you didn't even, like, ask me. You didn't even think that I would come. Yeah. You didn't think what, you know? He's just so, like, the amount of things going there. And what they said specifically in the behind the scenes is, like, Ellie was not able to save Dina, but Jesse was. Yeah. You know? And he's angry. And clearly that he still has feelings for Dina, even though it's complicated.
Sure.
And of course he would,
Also, like in like another moment or two, like Ellie again is like kind of super fucking ungrateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way that would for sure piss me off.
Yeah.
If I risk my life to come bail someone out, and then, I'd be like, come on.
Yeah.
Luckily, he does call her out, I think, in a justifiable way where I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to just like lay it down,
Yep.
give that tough love kind of thing. Or
Yeah.
whatever. Like it also like they're in the middle of something.
Yep.
It's like, we don't have time to argue about this right now, which is great. Again, Jesse, favorite character. He's always,
He's your number
like
one?
on it, he's like, yeah, I don't know if it's because like I feel similar or relatable to like Jesse in terms of things, but that no nonsense, like eyes on the prize. We can talk about this kind of later thing. And I was like, yeah, because his priorities are always in the right place, which I love.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are similar too, because you both appreciate triangulation.
No, we appreciate people that can triangulate. Oh no, he does. He knows triangulate. I love that. He's like, yeah. In no way did I think it was you, Ellie, that left the map there.
Which also just is like this, like kind of for me. I don't know if this made sense to you, but like there is like this kind of like meta nod or wink here thing that it's the three of them and their love triangle, and that he's like so impressed by Dina's triangulation and gives Ellie no credit for it. I don't know. I thought that was kind of.
Some great jokes
Kind of
around,
wry,
Yeah. Well, you said it. We never stop. We like someone that can razz Ellie.
For sure, dude.
Like it seems like Jesse's the only person Ellie has not been able to like get to.
100%.
He's like, nope. I got something for you every single time.
Yep. Totally.
And yep, you gotta love that. You gotta love that a little bit.
I do. For the record, I'm making fun of you like a half second ago for liking Jesse a lot. He's awesome. He's fucking awesome. Like he's great. He's level-headed. He's like clearly like talented in town, talented in combat. It seems like also like a pretty good partner, right? Even though it didn't work out between him and Dina. Dina doesn't hate him. He doesn't hate Dina. Like they're excited to have his kid and have him be around hopefully for it.
Well, that's the other thing. Is like, how angry would he be if he knew? Is going through my head.
Yeah, I feel
he's
like we're gonna
angry
get there
now. But if he in this moment, if either of them let it slip, like, he is gonna. You what? And you kept going.
Yeah.
Like, oh no. Now the thing is like, I will say Jesse seems like a guy who's like level-headed enough to not get like over the top angry, we'll see if this conversation happens or whatever, but like he's not a misogynist in this kind of way. It's one thing where I could see like someone getting angry because like you put my kid in danger kind of thing. It's like I don't think he's that kind of guy.
Everything we know about Jesse is that he's very good at keeping a level head. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. But they were able to escape the Seraphites, and they get to the park. I'm sorry, they were able to escape the WLF.
They escaped the WLF,
and they get to the park, and the WLF will not go in.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Which of course they assume is so there's infected here.
That freaked me out so much.
Oh, great!
Though,
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind, I was like, no. It's for sure not infected. Infected aren't just in the woods.
What did you?
I didn't know.
Okay,
but I was just like, it was just to me, it was the moment in the horror movie where the kids are like, "Yeah, we can go into that house where there's no power and lights or anything.
Yeah,
they won't follow us in there." I was just like, "Oh fuck me, what's in there?" I didn't think it was infected, but I did think it was like, there's gonna be cannibals. There's this other mutant monster thing,
or like an infected bear or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's a pack of wolves, like literal wolves or something. Like I was like, oh fuck me, it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get really bad.
Yeah, no, super interesting. Obviously I knew what it was, but I love that this is a classic feeling that you get in the game too.
The whistles?
None of the whistles. It's like this idea of like, okay, I'm out of the frying pan and now I'm in the fryer. You know, that like I went from one bad thing to like, oh, now there's also this thing I have to deal with.
Yeah.
Like it's like you can't you can't escape it. You know, it's
Yeah.
always something worse. Or in the immortal words of Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Star Wars fans. Before we get to the whistles, I just wrote down Tommy's here too.
Yeah. That's what Jesse tells us.
They split up for whatever reason, but Tommy's here too. Love it. I love that they're we knew this was happening. I did spoil this for you before. Now we know Tommy's here.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's doing or what they're doing. The fact that they both left the night after, I thought it's interesting. I'm just curious like how this is going to play out, you know?
Yeah.
But I love that Tommy's here too, you know, because to me it's like in some way I don't think you can do this like without Tommy and Jesse. That there's like this, you can't just leave people behind. Like Joel meant so much to other people. And if anyone like you would want on your side, it's Tommy, the literal brother of Joel, the person that fills that void almost a little bit, maybe not ever fully, but like for me, when Tommy is there, like I feel safe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The same way that like when Joel's there, I feel safe. And now when Jesse's here, it's like, I feel safe, like in the game.
Absolutely.
You
yes.
know? And it's like, and I'm glad. I'm so glad. I can't wait till we get to like figure out where he is and when he comes back into the story, you know? So again, all our conversation about whether or not Tommy was coming or what was going on before, or like what he was struggling with, that we thought he might stay in Jackson or whatever. We talked a little bit like off podcast with that, you know, and a little bit is like informed from like what I know of the story in the game, you know, but like I still hold up that conversation in terms of like what they were like seeding there, you know,
sure.
of what Tommy was struggling with, you know. And I think that now that we know that he's here, I was like, he's here. What does he think about being here, about the mission, about, you know, again, will we have this conversation? You know, will that come up? I don't know. It's different context in the game. And we know that like they've been having conversations about that struggle about, of just spelling it out. Like, are we doing this revenge thing or not? You know? And I'm curious what Tommy's thoughts are now that he's here.
We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know, we have another season, so maybe we have plenty of time.
yeah, maybe we do. Yeah. But I'm just like, to me, I'm like, wait, there's only 2 more episodes in the season left. Ostensibly, the next episode is just flashback. And then we need to figure out what the fuck happens with Abby, Dina, Ellie, Jesse, Tommy. Not to mention that we've been introduced to these very, very menacing WLF characters, as well as the scars. I'm just like, ugh. Got a lot to wrap up, guys. Or not. But yeah.
Oh, the finale is going to be a fun conversation. Well, here are the Seraphites. And we hear the whistles first.
Yeah.
And I talked to you about these whistles, and I'm going to bring it back up again. You learned to hate these whistles, and I hope you hated them whenever they were running away.
Yeah, spooky.
Because it is a very fun mechanic, but also like it's worse than infected. It's so much worse. You know, it's like infected or make it. It's because they're not communicating to each other. The Seraphites are communicating.
Yeah.
Like, and when you run into like other WLF, like, you can hear them being like, I think she's over here, or like all this kind of stuff. And when you're like, okay, I know how to get around it. Yeah. Seraphites, you have no fucking clue. Like they are communicating through these whistles, and it's so chaotic for you because you don't know. Like, are they close to me? Are they not? Like, what is going on? You know? I just love those whistles. Such a cool way to represent this group. I love how when they're in this forest, and before they run into the clearing where they're hanging a WLF soldier, we hear the whistles first, and then we start seeing like these fires. And it's almost like they're spawning out of the ether, you know, almost like a video game.
Yeah, like they just populate.
They just kind of like pop up out of nowhere, which is exactly how it is in the video game, where it's like you were there the whole fucking time. But yeah, even here, it's like, I don't know how they managed to capture that feeling, you know? It's just maybe it's just the idea of someone coming behind a tree with a torch is not that magical, but it feels like magic.
Yeah.
You know? And they're hanging a WLF soldier.
Hanging and disemboweling.
And sacrificing.
Like it's not even a simple hanging.
They're showing her love is what they're doing.
Right.
In order for him to get closer to Prophet, he has to, be free of his corporeal form.
Clearly, it makes more sense to folks who have played the game.
No, this is what they say. This is basically what they say in the scene.
I know. I'm fucking around.
like what the fuck? I wrote down. Okay, first of all, he's like, I love his line. The lead Seraphite, and he's like, they're all saying like, may she guide us.
Yeah.
And he said, and he's like, I can tell you anything. He's like, yeah, well, corrupted souls know only lies. That's what she said, Yeah. And I'm like, well, one, it's like definitely a way to, make sure you always know who your enemies are, kind of thing.
Sounds
like she's
pretty absolute.
Very absolute. And they're doing this thing, and they're, like I said, they're like almost freeing him in their kind of like language, of like whatever. Do you think the prophet actually taught this? Because I questioned it. Because we don't know much
it's a big
about
question,
the prophet,
right? That's like,
like how much of this is like put on from them, from the teachings, right? Like maybe she meant something else, but then they were like, they made it this like ritual, this like thing.
I think this is a question I ask of most organized religions.
Okay, sure, yeah.
But I don't fucking know. I know we're in recent history, right? I know that like, at the oldest, the Seraphite clan or sect or whatever is 25 years old at the oldest, right?
Yeah.
If it started at the inception of the outbreak. So also ostensibly, like whoever the prophet is, may still be living or may have died relatively recently.
She's died.
She has died.
Yeah, she died
that?
10 years ago. We know from that first scene when they were like, that was, yeah.
I don't remember.
I think that was specifically, if I remember correctly, she's died 10 years before this moment.
Okay, so very recently, in the terms of the history of a religion.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I wrote about the hanged and disembowelment scene was like, Jesus Christ, they're culty as fuck. Because I was like, man, this dude is begging for his life. And they are stone cold, just, he can't be fixed. I'm just like, Jesus, mother of God.
Yeah.
This is horrifying.
Yeah. This is,
we don't feel that bad for the Seraphites anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like this is where it becomes like, oh, like I thought infected and regular soldiers were something I was going to deal with. Like, this is unpredictable. Yeah. This is something that, like, I think all of them realized at that moment is like, we don't want to be near these guys at all. Like, this is something else entirely that we can't come in. And they haven't, I don't think, run into anything like this. Yeah. Like, Raiders is one thing, Fedra soldiers, Fireflies. Those were all somewhat kind of predictable. Even infected, like we know, like somewhat predictable. Like they've done that a million times. The Seraphites are a whole other breed.
Yeah, and to that point, right, is that like you're saying, we've seen mass murder. Yeah. We've seen torture. We've seen infected and all the havoc that it can cause. Mm-hmm. But for me, at least, and what I was putting myself in watching Ellie and Dina watch this, is there's something so incredibly horrifying about watching another human being who is apparently fully sound of mind, not infected, just calmly, collectedly disemboweling and hanging someone. Mm-hmm. Like that is when you talk about dehumanization, right? It's like, even in these like horrible other situations where we're talking about torture and stuff, it's like, but there's anger and there's passion, and the person who's enacting these horrible things believes they're justified in the moment by some visceral feeling. This is none of that. This is like I said, cold, calculated, detached, just another one down.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Very, very scary to me.
Yeah, and this is where I talked about like last week, the Seraphites themselves feel like that they were born in this world, you know? Like this isn't something that comes from like any old thing, right? Like this is like we've got like both the theater scene earlier where she's looking at the old world and wondering what it's like, and now we're seeing it in the same kind of awe if you think about like the general definition of awesome or awestruck, you know, of like what the new world actually is becoming, you know, that we've been in this transition period the whole time. It's like, no, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what humanity is. This is what not only like religion, it's not just a religion, you know, that can do this. It's like, this is just, these are people that like celebrate violence.
Yeah.
And it's become, it only comes from like the nature versus nurture kind of like argument before. It only comes from like these certain events that have happened along the way to this specific group of people that make it feel like they've always inhabited this world.
Yep.
But like have only been here for like a short amount of time, but they feel so set in their foundation of like who they are. It's fucking scary.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
It's so scary. And I agree. And awe inspiring, not in like in a way
that's
of
what I'm saying.
not admiration, but like it has this grandiosity in a way, right? Anytime you're watching like something that feels like it is just murder, but to those folks, it also feels like a religious rite or ceremony, right? I mean, it does, it's fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's wrong. It's bad. It's bad. I want to know so much more about the Seraphites now. Like it makes me want to know so much more.
Like, I don't know that much. This is kind of like what we know. I would think we might get to learn a little bit more. Who knows, right? But there's definitely like probably more that there's some other things to fill out. But to me, it's like I do question based on what I know of religion and how these things normally are, especially if their slogan is "Feel Her Love." You know, I imagine that they talk about corruption a lot in terms of the other people being corrupt, right? But the Seraphites, I have to wonder, like, who corrupted the teachings of this prophet? Because there's absolutely no way this is what she meant. And I can see this being twisted. Like, it started off one thing, and then it became something else entirely. Because we don't know how the prophet died. And I imagine, like, I don't imagine it was someone who's so well mythologized. This figure is probably well protected as well. I don't know what it is about the Seraphites both in the game and here, and we don't ever learn, at least I don't know that if we've learned this because I don't have the information.
Yeah.
But I imagine she didn't just die of natural causes. I think that there was some sort of coup, because I do think that there is very much like a twist on like what this was originally supposed to be. That this was taken, and I think in kind of evidenced by the fact that like there are some people who don't really follow this, that they were trying to escape, you know, that they were trying to get away from war, that it's not really about this for them. There might be like a more mild version of this religion.
Multiple sects within Scarism or
Yeah,
the
you know.
Seraphitism that is, they're more militant, purist groups, the ones that are still in Seattle versus the group that was trying to get out that we saw. I mean, that makes sense to me,
But the
right?
fact that this is able to like take over just shows like there's so much there in terms of like our base inner instincts, you know,
and that they're
like
a big enough problem that the WLF is at war with them.
Oh yeah.
They are big enough, right? That it's like
The fact that the WLF are scared to go into this park for people that
they have guns and
torches.
tanks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Guns and
it's
tanks.
Like well, one, I think I wasn't sure. I wasn't clear. It's like, is it they're afraid to go in there, or is it because they can't because there's a line like a
barricade.
battle line drawn?
Yeah.
Right. Like if you pass it, then you're essentially
Scar
doing more war.
territory.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's more of like an agreement. You know.
Sure.
So I'm not exactly sure. Assuming it's just a territory thing, okay, we get it. You know, if it's not, and they are just absolutely scared to run into Seraphites, that tells you a lot about how dangerous these people are.
Yeah.
that is quite, and they are right to run, you know?
Yeah.
Dina gets shot with an arrow.
Yeah, she does.
And of course, Jesse does what any, superhuman Captain Wyoming would do, which is pick her up, you know? Because Ellie, she's a small girl. She can't do that. She can't pick Dina up to take her away. Because otherwise, I think it would be Jesse that's like, you guys go, I'll do the thing. But the only person that can carry Dina to safety it's going to be Jesse.
Yeah.
And of course, that leaves open the door for her to escape the Seraphites.
Yeah. They get split up.
And they get split up. They're going back to the theater. We don't know what happens. But Ellie sees the hospital.
Gets distracted, or all of a sudden, a new idea.
A new idea? It's not the plan.
It's the old idea. It's the big plan, right? But
it's right. I think it's not lost on me that Dina specifically was like, what's the plan? What's the plan? Because Ellie will consistently and always not follow the plan.
Yeah.
And when she's left to her own devices, which I think is great, that when she doesn't have Dina speaking in her ear, she doesn't have Jesse there or anyone else. She's like, I have one singular blood in my eyes goal, and that's blind rage, right? To go after Nora, which is what I was here for in the first place.
That's what she does.
So the hospital.
The hospital.
I will say we didn't get much of it. I wish we had gotten a little bit more. There's a little bit of an homage to the prone mechanic, a new mechanic in the game for the second game where you get to go prone, you get to hide in some grass.
Sure.
When a dog comes up and he's coming after
I
you.
knew that was a game mechanic. I knew that was a game mechanic.
Because I brought that up before. It's like that there's dogs.
But even if there wasn't, it was like so clearly
yeah. I feel like it didn't get enough. To be honest, I feel like they could have give us a little bit more. Maybe we will. There's like definitely like a moment. This was like when we meet Jesse in the game. Like it's a very visceral moment. I remember of having to like escape like some WLS soldiers and dogs. By the time like Jesse comes up, it's like I've been sneaking, I've been running. There's literally a point. This is such a fun thing about the Last of Us games. I know I'm on a tangent right now. This is what Naughty Dog does so well. And I remember someone else talking about this too. They had a very similar experience. Like you don't know exactly what is expected of you in terms of how to play the game. Do I sneak? Do I like just run and gun shoot? What do you have the kind of choice, right? And I remember I was like sneaking around trying to get through these dogs and trying to figure something out. And I got to a point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. I was failing. The game difficulty was so high. I couldn't figure out the puzzle of the sneaking to just kind of get through everything. And eventually they like saw me and then I like had to kill a dog and then I had to like just keep running. And then at this moment I'm just like running and I'm just running and I'm like, well, I guess this is what like that is an option in the second game, which is not quite there. Typically you have to like get through everyone before you can go on to the next level. Yeah. It's like, no, you have an option and that's just fucking run. And I remember that being like a visceral moment of like, I can't beat the level. I just have to go. Yeah. And I just keep on going and I go into this thing and then it turns into like a cutscene and turns into thing. And it's like, oh, this is actually what's supposed to happen. Yeah. Essentially. It kind of almost forced me into it. I'm sure there's another way I could have done it. And then eventually Jesse shows up. That was such a really cool thing to feel like, okay, I didn't do it wrong. I'm sure there was another way, but I still made it through. And then I got through this moment. And then I'd run into Jesse and then it's like, oh wait, there's infected. Yeah. And that was a whole moment too. But yeah, that's why the dogs to me, it's a tangent, but like that to me is like what I remember of like trying to dodge the dogs and to be prone in the grass and to try and get through this like super hard section. And I'm not sure if it's possible to get through it without being noticed, but for me, definitely wasn't possible. And so such a fun game moment. But yeah, she gets through pretty easily.
She does.
She goes through a hole that's too small, I guess, for a man. So they're like, it's just a critter. It's no dogs were harmed today.
None this time.
Thank God. We still don't know where Shimmer is, but the dog is fine. You get to the hospital. We kind of fast travel to Nora. I just want to say, like, Nora seems tired. I know we're not on Nora's side, but like, there's something there, and I'm like, wow, this war, whatever's going on, is clearly taking a toll on this person. Because I don't think has anything to do with Joel or what they went through or anything like that. They've done that. They've figured it out. Like, now she's back in this section. I think she's wondering, like, well, okay, why am I here, kind of thing. Nora seems tired.
Yeah.
It's just what I wrote down.
Agreed.
You know? And I'm sure that's going to become clear later when it comes to, like, the Seraphite WLF war. And again, how we know, like, how Isaac runs things and allows certain, like, autonomy or whatever. I think that it's going to be clear, like, why the Fireflies kind of, like, band together and become their own, like, little group, you know, that they were able to, like, kind of go off and do their thing and still come back and be part of the WLF, you know?
Sure.
That, yeah, it's just interesting that it's going back to, like, because we know what happens to Nora, obviously. We've seen the episode. And, like, even before this moment, it's like, how close was she losing loyalty to the WLF? You know, if this has happened a few days later, she would not be there, I think. Is just a really interesting thought to me, that we already know that that the WLF is losing people, not just to the Seraphites, probably, but a bunch of other things. And if Nora is tired, I can only imagine what's going on in Isaac's army, you know, and why he cared so much about what that Seraphite said to him in that interrogation room.
For sure.
But of course, she's not gone. She's here, and Ellie comes behind her. And a chase happens, and we get to, well, the spores. Anything before this chase? Anything about the chase? Anything that you have?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm glad that it ends up where it does with the spores, because I wanted these two characters to talk to each other.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I was nervous. Me, not having played the game, I didn't even think about the fact that, like, oh, the hospital is the place with the spores in the basement. Like, no part of me connected that.
Before that happened.
Before it happened. Like, right. So I was like,
when you passed that door, did it hit you?
Once it passed the door, yes.
Yeah.
Once she was like looking down the shaft and being like, do I go or do I wait for her? I was like, oh, right.
Uh-oh.
But like when they're in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
You know, Nora runs and she says something, intruder, shooter, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like really bummed out, because I was like, not only is Ellie going to get caught in my mind at that point, but I was also like, oh, there's so much shit that they need to talk about.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
they
not
did
gonna
have
happen.
a little bit of a conversation.
Barely.
Oh, but that was like, I totally forgot about that. I'm sorry. That conversation actually was like, it was changing my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, I was seeing how Nora was tired, and then she started saying, like, I remember his screams like every night. I was like, wow, this person is traumatized.
She's fucked up by
This
it.
person, I felt so much empathy for in that moment. I was like, she doesn't even want to be here. And now she's like,
Yep.
I think she like feels badly and whatever. And then, nope. She says, and he fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
Or whatever she says there.
And
And I
throw
was
some
like,
acid
well,
on her
that
or
just
something.
ruined everything. Because any goodwill that you
Yeah.
just got from me and Ellie,
Yeah.
you just threw the fuck out the window.
Yeah.
Nora, you were so close. And then she bolts running. And at that point, I was like, I didn't think Ellie was going to, I was just scared for Nora.
Yeah.
I was like, you pissed off the wrong person.
Yeah.
And to see Ellie like almost Terminator like just going after Nora, that was fucking wild.
Yeah.
We have to talk about spores before we get to the Nora thing. The spores, again, I mentioned before, looked so amazing, so great. And the fact that like this was a built fucking set, as far as I could tell,
That shit is incredible.
I don't know what is manipulated in the HBO behind the scenes, but as far as I could tell, that was all practically built.
Because that's the cool shit for me is like the spores are like, they do look good, but it's
Yeah.
like I've seen cloudy, particulate
Well,
matter.
those are probably
and
CGI.
stuff, like,
I'm talking about the things
easy.
on the walls,
That's
the cordyceps,
shit
right?
I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Is that like, when the walls are grown
Yes.
out and there's like these pillars of fungal cordyceps
Like
and
that
stuff.
clearly they have someone like there, like a
Like-
person, like
Yeah.
I thought that like maybe that section was built out and the rest was like
Yeah.
CGI, but like it looked like everything.
It looked amazing.
And building, this is one of my favorite things about the game too, is when you start running into the ones that are like built into the walls, and some of them, most of them are just like already kind of like dead and not moving, they're just
Yeah.
kind of scenery. But then this like image of like the spores coming out every time they breathe.
Yeah, the exhale and you just see the psh.
Yeah. And it's like, again, I brought this up before, and it reminds me of that time that Ellie like ran into that infected that was trapped in the rubble in the first
Yeah.
season, and like the second or third episode, I can't remember. It's second episode actually. And she's just like feeling sorry for it, curious about it, and I felt sorry for it because what life is this?
Yeah.
What do we know of the cordyceps? Like, is a person still there? Are they not? Like, to just be like that for eternity? They've been there since at least 2003.
Holy shit.
That's a good, 20, I don't know what year it is, like 25 years.
2029.
Right,
So, yeah.
it was 20 years since the outbreak, and then it was 5 years later, and the second says 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Wow, like that's
in existence.
Yeah, and again, like they're not cognizant probably, but that's still,
I mean, I kind of hope not.
that's that's still that's such an image and such a thing. Yeah, so I don't know, moment for the cordyceps, I guess.
And I mean, like, and specifically with like the body
yeah,
in the wall,
Yeah.
there's a couple, right? I think we see two, maybe more, but the first one we just passed by, but then the second one that Ellie pays a little more heed to, we see is Sergeant Park's son, ostensibly.
wait, I didn't even
Oh, yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Did we see like it say Sergeant
Badge.
Park?
Name
Holy
tag.
shit! I
Name tag.
completely blanked out. So
Oh, yeah.
oh, so we do. So where was he? Was he in the wall? He was just on the ground.
He was in the wall. He was like,
He was the one on the wall.
He was the one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Lord.
folks, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it said Park on
Oh,
his
Leon.
uniform. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. Ellie didn't know that, but we did.
he hasn't been there as long as far as we know.
No, and that's why he's kind of like, I thought he's kind of like looking.
Oh my
Slowly.
god! Yeah. There is
Yeah.
sometimes I wasn't sure if this was going to happen or not. There is sometimes, I guess, spoiler alert. Sometimes they do break away from the wall.
Oh, God.
It's like more of the stalker versions, though. I think in terms of the game. So like sometimes you don't know,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is like in the game in here, like Ellie has a chance to kind of put them out of their misery, but she doesn't. Well, one, because she's wholly focused on her mission.
Yeah.
But it just reminded me of that thing in like the game, because sometimes you don't know, like, is this a danger or a threat to me or whatever? Do I go and shoot you, or do I just let you be?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's strangely beautiful, which is the wildest thing about mushrooms and cordyceps in general, is like this scene and this imagery and the set design or whatever. It's like, it's wildly, it's not Baroque in the sense that like I'm not scared of it. I'm like mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
Like it feels, I feel sorry for them, but I also feel like, oh, but they're the only ones living out some sort of purpose, or I guess symbiosis of like what they've found this serenity, I guess, of some sorts, which I don't know. Maybe I'm like looking way too far into that, but that is like a weirdly beautiful moment as well.
Yeah, I think it is beautiful. I mean, like if we saw this in our own life, without having the existence of this cordyceps infection, we would say this is incredible. Yeah, this is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's only in the context of the game that we know it goes hand in hand with this horrifying fungal mutation that can take your life. Yeah. Is it also ominous?
And
but
it's
amazing.
Yeah, and it's weird as we could be mad at like the infected there, but it's not Leon's fault.
Not at all.
It's the spores. It's the fungus.
Totally.
Whatever this fucking fungus is, the people just put a face to it.
That's right. Agree.
It's weird. It's like, where do you put that? That anger and that frustration and that like.
Sure.
Who's the enemy,
Especially because you start seeing that. And like, for me, my mind starts to go and think about like big picture, like evolution stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, is this just what the world, Earth is meant to evolve into? Is this what we're supposed to just calmly accept? Is this the superior species? Kind of,
you'll never take me. Well,
I mean, maybe.
Let's be reasonable. I don't know triangulation. I'm the first to go.
Yeah, so. sorry, dude.
We don't have time to talk about the infected and their dilemma and whether or not, they are conscious or not, because we got other things to do, including Nora. The thing to talk about, I think, this episode. And as with anything else, all that came before for Ellie and all that came before for us doesn't matter.
Yeah.
One singular thing. And that's, what do we do with Nora? Ellie turns on the emergency power, follows this coughing. We're aware of this, of what's happening. Ellie, at this point, I find it interesting that with the spores and stuff, she doesn't even know that this is dangerous.
No.
She's just fine. And then she finds Nora, and I think curiously is like, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. She's not running anymore, you know?
She's like coughing and seems unwell.
And that red light and her coming forth, and I don't think we need to talk about the symbolism of red in The Last of Us or anything. It's like clear, danger, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a fun moment.
No.
For us or for Nora. And I don't think Nora's able to fight back anymore.
No.
I love this moment of realization for Nora. At first, she's like, well, you killed us both. Like, you stupid person. Like, you brought us down here. Now we're both going to die. And then realizing that Ellie's not struggling.
You're not coughing.
And then the way that she says, you're her.
You're her. Yeah.
Which tells me a lot. We talked a lot about the Fireflies coming and killing Joel and all that kind of stuff. And like, what do they even know of like Ellie, And it's like, to me, it's like, wow. To Nora, at least, she had no idea that Ellie existed or still existed. Like, this is this was a myth. She was a legend. I don't even know what Abby knew of why Joel. It makes what Joel did in their eyes more tragic.
Even worse.
The fact that like he would have done this and killed so many people and killed Abby's father for nothing, because to them, they didn't know that it was this cure thing or that there was they were like, this person just disappeared, you know? It could go two ways. Like maybe they did know that she still existed out there and that they didn't recognize that it was the same person. And maybe that's what that you're her is really there for.
Sure. I don't think so though. I think it's the immune thing.
Right. Like that it's the fact that she didn't think that this person existed.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That she was still alive.
Yeah.
Or that there was still a possibility.
Yeah.
Right. Like that they
or that
on.
like of course like maybe they said it was an immunity, but like was she really immune kind of thing? Like even if they like even had hope,
she survived a bite, but that doesn't mean she's like fully
or whatever.
immune.
It's like oh wait, no, this immunity is real. Like you're not affected by this at all. And yeah, Nora's visibly angry there because like now not only we already know she believes Joel deserved what he did, but now even more.
But now, like not only that, but like Ellie of all people should know your precious Joel killed the only man who could come up with a cure.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what she should know, right? Yeah. Because she gives her the story. She gives her everything. She's like, but do you know what he did? Do you know that he killed everyone for you? That he killed Abby's father that was supposed to find a cure for everyone? Do you know this person? Like, why are you here? And like, this is not something Nora ever expected. They were gone. They rode off into the sunset. There was no one coming for them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even know that Ellie really existed.
Mm-hmm.
And this person came all this way. Like this is for us, it's a foregone conclusion, but for her,
yeah, totally.
This is just random and surprises. Like you have to understand, like us, you have to understand.
Yeah.
And Ellie, to the shock of Nora and everyone, says, "I know." Never since Star Wars Empire Strikes Back have those two words been so, I think, significant, you know? What do you think she knows? I'm curious.
I'm willing to give my opinion.
Yeah.
I want to preface it by saying that it is just an opinion.
Sure.
I think she does know everything. That's
Nora what she says. She's, I know, yeah.
Right. But like Ellie lies about what she knows all the time.
Sure.
Ellie all the time is just like, yeah, I know how to triangulate, right? Famously. Or
yeah.
Oh no, I'm bringing other stuff. No, you literally only have guns. Like, but in this instance, performance wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Bella Ramsey's performance is very different because when Ellie lies, it's quite obvious and transparent, and she's usually like. Also,
she's bad at lying, and she's not very good at lying.
No, and she usually like tries to like swagger or stature when she does it.
Yeah,
there's none of that here.
Yeah,
it's stone cold simple. I know.
Yeah,
right. I think Ellie knows everything that Nora's telling her already. I do.
Yeah,
just my opinion.
Yeah, and I love that moment. The actress, I don't have her name for some reason. I'm an idiot, but like. Nora's face when she finds out that Ellie does know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That you're still going to die and Ellie is going to be the reason for that. That Ellie still has that look in her eyes of like, I want something from you.
Mm-hmm.
You took something from me and I want something from you.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what Ellie, people have been talking about and arguing about like what Ellie does or doesn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and like why is she doing this, all this kind of thing. It's like it doesn't matter. if she knew or not. It's not up to them to define the relationship between her and Joel.
Right.
It's not up to them to take that whatever she did or did not know away from her.
Yeah.
To have that conversation. If that was between him and her,
Of
and
course.
like no one else.
And also,
Yeah.
And also, like in the context of the television show, like, come on, guys, we had to like at least suspect a little bit that Ellie kind of knew some of this, right? Because there's like all this weird tension between her and Joel that didn't exist at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And that we're like, okay, something happened.
We open up the season with reminding us of the lie that he told to her. Presumably under the impression that this is going to be the thing that she never understood.
Yep.
She never knew what he did or why, that she accepted the lie and that they moved on. But we find out 5 years later, there's still something wrong. And so this is what the confirmation of what that was.
Yeah, sure.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because what they did, he did not deserve that. And that is not their judgment to like give. I think in her estimation, it's like, I know, but there's so much packed behind I know. It's I know, but you still don't. It doesn't absolve you from anything.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You know, that is, yeah. The rage you've been looking for, guys, it's here. And Bella does a tremendous job of delivering everything that's you're supposed to be getting in 2 words.
Yeah.
Which is just so amazing.
I mean,
but yeah, it is also heartbreaking to understand now like why she's so angry. That this was not just about losing a person close to her, but she lost someone in which that I don't think she disagrees necessarily with Nora. But I think that was the thing, that she was still trying to figure that the fuck out.
Yeah.
And she hadn't figured out how she feels about this, about Joel and what he did and lied to her and all those kinds of things. Clearly there was some tension there. She figured it out or whatever. And she was pushing him away and she didn't know what to do with it. And we talked about purpose and like how, like what that choice meant to her and like all those different things. There's a whole lot going on there that I feel like she's been dealing with. You don't have to explain to her, Nora, what she knows or doesn't know. It doesn't fucking matter. Like she already knew that. She's been struggling with that for probably, I don't know, 5 years, maybe at least or most, right? Like, and that is that to hear that and have her say that with like no hesitation. That's the heartbreaking thing.
Yeah.
It's like, she didn't get to have any of this. She didn't even get to figure out what she wanted to do with that information. And you took that from her, you know, so much packed in that. I know. Anyway, I can go probably on and on about that, but yeah, but
it is like, I think it is a satisfying, again, part of my enjoyment of this episode has been we are like nailing out plot points where like I think we've kind of been wondering up until this point.
Yeah.
How much does Ellie know? What exactly does Ellie know? I think if you think she knows nothing, I'm like, come on. She at least has like some educated guesses or an idea. Here we get it all clear as can be.
And
right?
the thing is like for us as an audience, it's like, well, we a lot of times we've had the conversation about like justifying a little bit of like Abby and the crew, like what they did, what did Joel deserve, what did he not deserve, that kind of thing, you know, like is he a good guy or bad guy, whatever, like we can talk about those things all day. And in here it's like no new information. Like we talked about it in the context of like Ellie doesn't know any of this.
Yeah.
She doesn't know why they were there. She doesn't know what was going on. She's just figuring it out here in this moment. And now we're realizing no new information is going to stop her from her mission.
Right. Well, maybe.
It's like the knowledge of why they were there, whether they can justify it, like whether or not that, you know, it was like Joel deserved anything is never going to sway Ellie.
Sure.
There's only one thing that sways Ellie, and it's the fact that it was taken from her.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is like the realization there for us as an audience as well, that this is going to keep on going until she gets exactly what she wants. That we can keep telling her, we can keep trying to convince her, we can keep rationalizing or whatever. It doesn't matter to her.
Yeah.
She knows, and she has all the information, and she has, well, at least she has everything that she needs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, yeah.
I mean, the thing I wrote down watching this and watching her say, I know.
Yeah.
And then start beating the shit out of Nora was just, wow. Ellie is a lot like Joel. It's like,
A lot of people have pointed out, I've already seen it in the comments and stuff, but a lot of people have pointed out the similarities of the way that Ellie will be like, where is Abby? Where is she? To when Joel's asking about like what town
yep.
In the first season, which I don't remember the exact context, but yeah, that this is when it means so much to you, when you have a singular goal. And you're trying to get to a person, you know, that, yeah, they definitely are the product of each other's, you know.
It's also like amazing too, pivoting just for a little bit. Like Nora's like, no, just doesn't talk. And maybe she does, you know, in stuff we don't see, but her resolve is like incredible to me. I was kind of like, holy shit. This person is like not going to play ball with you at all. Feels very justified.
Well, she's already dying. She's going to die one way or another.
Going to die one way or another, and also feels very justified in their actions.
Yeah.
You know?
We were reminded by the behind the scenes thing that like the thing that's significant here is that, especially for the show, Nora's the one that held her down, held Ellie down. It's one thing to participate. It's another, she's specifically the one that kept her from saving Joel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like in Ellie's head or maybe in Dina's head, they don't kill Nora or anyone else. Like it's just Abby that they want. Abby did the thing. But to Ellie, what Nora did is almost worse because I could have saved Joel. I could have done it, but you are the one that held me down.
And prevented
You're the
me.
one that kept me from doing that.
Yeah, you were interfered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I think leads her to do kind of like what she does, right? We've talked on this podcast before, me and my old host, about the animalistic qualities of Ellie. And like when she crouches down and they get that like wide 2 shot,
Yeah.
I'm just like, she looks like an animal.
Yeah.
She looks like the monster that came out of the darkness.
Yeah.
I wrote like, it was very much like a Batman, like I am the night kind of thing.
Yeah. The biggest monster in B2 is Ellie.
Yeah. It was like, this is like, we just got through like dealing with stalkers and Seraphites and WLF, you know, and things that that Ellie and Dina and Jesse are scared of. But here, Nora's not scared of any of those things. She's scared of one thing, and Ellie's the monster.
Yeah.
Ellie's the boogeyman that came, you know, to rip them away from their mortar coil or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? it's weird to see that switch in my own brain of like, here's the person that we're on their side and we're the hero. And then it switches to like, oh, wait a second. I'm scared of Ellie.
They're doing
I'm
bad
scared.
things.
And she is not, I'm not having fun anymore. And so
Yeah.
she picks up that pipe and she just keeps on going. I prefer the game version of this.
Ooh, how's it different?
This is the cognitive dissonance thing, which is why I wanted to talk about it here. This is the, like, when push comes to shove, you're like, yeah, we're on a revenge mission. We're gonna tell a story. We're gonna do this thing. But then, like, when it actually happens, and you give her the pipe, and she just does this thing, you're like, you don't. It doesn't. She's dying. She doesn't have to do this. You don't, Ellie. You don't have to beat Nora. And sure, it's about like information.
Yeah.
But I think it slowly or quickly becomes less about the information and more about like what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And how she feels. And that's where it becomes like so heartbreaking. To see that rage and see that moment. And the thing that, like, when you're playing the game, every swing of the pipe is a button that you
Input.
have to press.
Yeah.
And we actually don't see, we just are looking at Ellie. We don't see what's happening to Nora.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost in like Nora's point of view. And you press the button and she swings. You press the button and she swings. And eventually, if I recall correctly, you stop hearing from Nora. And then you press the button and she swings. And you press the button again and she swings. And you're like, how long? How long is this going to happen? And so I prefer the game, and I think the show captures it just as well, you know, but like this moment of like, this is going a step far than I thought I wanted this, but I don't know if I do. Right. And now Ellie's like, she's on the mission that we thought we were down for and we were supporting, but she's, do you have to do it like this, Ellie? You know,
Yeah.
do you have to? And it's, and the first moment we're like cheering for her and we're like in it. And now I'm like devastated. I don't recognize the person that's here in front of me,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, it's such a thing. 'Cause I'm like, I understand. I know why you're doing it, but then you do it, and then you're the one doing it, and then you keep forcing her to do it.
Yeah.
The game forces you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like where normally we would think that's enough. We could probably stop now. She keeps going. And there's a big disconnect. And this is the first moment where you're like, have we passed the line?
Yeah.
Have we reached the point of no return? Are we crossing into a territory I don't want to be in?
Hmm.
Which is what's so great about the game and this scene, both in the show and in the game, is that I do like that it forces us through that cognitive dissonance, that allows us to be in control of that moment. And I do like that it pushes a character to go somewhere because they have to for whatever reason. I don't know. It's a traumatic game,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's a very bold decision, you know? And I think that we're not supposed to feel good about it.
No.
And I definitely don't here.
No.
And it's especially when it's a person that's like dying already in front of you.
Yeah.
And you kind of, if it wasn't for what she said earlier, I would feel sorry for her, that she is traumatized, that she probably does feel bad about what she did or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the disconnect. That's the thing that we're dealing with. The contradictory nature of like, wait, whose side am I on? Where am I supposed to be? It's such a heartbreaking moment to see someone push themselves past that, which we don't get to see much like in media.
Mm-hmm.
Bella does such a great job.
Yeah.
To do that.
It's pretty great.
How did you feel? I don't know how you felt, but like, is there any more thoughts about that?
I mean, kind of what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that when she said, I know, and then she kind of brutally speeds up the dying process of Nora trying to figure out where Abby is. I'm just like, I mean, obviously this is a side of this is a side of Ellie that I don't think I like, that I don't want to see. But it's also a side of Ellie that like, I don't know if Dina's ever seen.
I think it's important that Dina's not here.
Correct. This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is that earlier, right, when like this choice is so hard for Ellie to make because she's not standing next to Nora and she is with Dina. I think she sees this whole potential of what her life could be like if she just lets it go. And I think that as an audience member, right, not only do I not like seeing Ellie like this, obviously it's grotesque, right? But also I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen if Dina ever sees Ellie in this kind of mission mode. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's the person that Dina thinks she's with.
I don't think Dina would have expected this.
No way.
I don't think that she had plans to kill Nora.
Torture.
As far as we know.
Kill.
Yeah, I don't think it was going to be this way.
That's what I mean.
I think this doesn't happen. I don't think if Dina's there. I don't think if Jesse or Dina is there. I don't think it happens. Definitely not in this way. I don't see that. There is definitely like an idea that this is coming from Ellie alone. You know, that I think that's the point of like having like isolated her and put her there, because at the end of the day, it's going to be between her and Joel.
Yeah.
And as heartbreaking as it is, this is her singular goal. This is her mission, you know, and nothing's going to get in between her and that.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things where like, just like our normal life, like we, you know, when things are like out of sight, they're out of mind, right? That we could have people that convince us to go one direction, but as soon as we're presented with something like, oh, this is right in front of us, sometimes that's what matters most. It's like, it's what's right in front of us. And then we lose sight of like what could be. We lose sight of like the bigger picture or all those kinds of things, you know? Yeah. And this is just happening on a much more, I guess, like heavier scale than in like most of our day-to-day lives, you know?
For sure.
It is hard, right? Like, how do you, it is also like one thing to be like, when you're presented with traumatic events and things that you're struggling with and your own hurt or hangups or habits, right? Like, it's one thing to struggle with that and to know what the right decisions are, but then to be in the moment, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm still going to do the thing that I do, right?
Yeah.
You know, that we are flawed, that we make these mistakes. You know, we can talk about it all day. We can justify it on our side. We can have a podcast about it and talk about like, this is right or wrong or whatever. It's like, it's another thing to be completely like in that moment. We don't know.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be Ellie in that moment and finally have like an isolated chance.
And again, what Nora said, I don't even know. I think Nora screwed up to say like he deserved it. Everything that he had coming from like that. I don't know. I think she gets away out of there a little bit less hurt, you know, or at least maybe Ellie might have been merciful or quick about it. But I think she kind of like screwed that up too. Like that's also like to put that in her mind, to put in Ellie's mind.
Does seem like a foolish tactic.
Does seem,
given the fact that this person is obviously very upset about this and has a gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably not the smartest move.
Yeah. So, oh, wow. We're all making mistakes, you know? But yeah, I don't know. Do you think Ellie, has she crossed the line in your estimation?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, again, this just for me, it was just my opinion, but like, we do not live in an eye for an eye society. We have learned over thousands of years of unfortunate history that perpetuating violence is a bad thing, in my opinion, at least. I think we've learned that.
Yeah.
And that even if Joel did or didn't deserve whatever he had coming to him, whether he deserved it or not, right? Ellie is debasing herself, torturing someone, right? I think she's a better person than that. And I think ultimately that, you know, maybe no one finds Nora's body down in B2, although not out of the realm of possibility that they get some gas masks and go down there and then find, oh, some people got turned into infected and someone maimed Nora, right? But regardless of whether she gets caught for this or not, right? What are we learning over and over again? That these things come back to haunt you, right? And that even if you kind of get away with it, you just have to live with yourself. So, I don't know. I still think Ellie is a good person, but I don't think this is a good moment. I don't think that what she did was justified. No.
Yeah. And I think strangely the moment is buttoned up with a flashback scene.
Wow, what a choice to give us our first flash of Joel since episode 2, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I've played the games. I also know that how the show works. I know that they has shot things with Pedro.
Yeah.
They're not just gonna, oh, bye, Pedro. We don't need you anymore, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, we always need Pedro.
I know these flashbacks are coming. And I think just like, it's weird to me because I'm like, I feel like I've cried about Joel enough, you know? I've played the game twice, you know what I'm saying? And then he comes in that room and he says, hey, kiddo.
Hey, kiddo.
And then suddenly I'm like, why am I bawling
yeah.
in my room, like watching this thing? And this is what's so great about the story is like, to give us that like right after what just happened and the complications that are going on through your mind. And then to see that's where it's like, that's where the heartbreak comes in. It's such a weird feeling that I don't even know how to describe it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This weird idea of like, to go from like this rage and like anger to suddenly like, I'm so glad to see Joel and Ellie like together and I missed his voice and whatever. And like, that's where I'm like, I'm crying because like I understand why she's doing what she's doing, but also it's like, no, this is who you are. Like I want you to be this with Joel, but this is not who you are when you're doing this. But like I understand also like why you are doing this. There's a whole lot of feelings. I don't even know what the feelings are or what the description that it just comes out in like emotion. It's just pure emotion.
Yeah.
That when he's there, that I'm like, oh
yeah,
I'm so heartbroken right now is the only thing I can explain. Like I don't know if it's Ellie breaking my heart or if it's the show breaking my heart or it's the fact that like I get to see Joel again and I'm like I miss him. So I didn't realize how much I missed him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have a feeling? Because I don't know if I have a.
I definitely have a feeling.
Yeah,
but I don't feel the same way as you, and like not in like I do miss Joel.
Yeah.
Right. But like for me, it's so fascinating sticking that flashback right after she brutalizes Nora, because it just is a reminder of how complicated people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And how much like Ellie learned everything from Joel, and Ellie is making one of the worst decisions of her life. She's acting like an animal, a sociopath, right? Blind rage. And she learned it from Joel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also know Joel has a reputation, and this stuff followed him because he did things like this, right? He did a lot of things like this. But that flashback also shows us how charming, how charismatic, how loving, and how personable
In 2 words.
he could also be.
In 2
right?
words.
It's like, and so for anybody who's trying to say Joel's a bad person, okay, maybe, sure. But what does that accomplish? Because also, he was so clearly such a good person to Ellie, right? So I think it's just like a beautiful reminder of like, hey man, putting labels on people, good, bad, evil, not evil, whatever. It's like pretty tough stuff, pretty complicated.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I think it's like, it's the fact that like in the medium that we're in, whether it's game or show, it's this visual medium, right? It's those scenes are not there. It's a flashback. It's not happening like right after.
Correct.
But when it gets put like right after this moment, that's the power of a visual medium.
Yep.
Right? That it feels continuous in a way that you can't like describe.
Right.
Like these are like 5-year things apart, you know?
Right.
But it is all happening all at once or right after another.
Right.
You know?
We're very, feeling sentient human beings.
Yeah.
When you put those two images
Yeah.
right next to each other, the story that it creates immediately for us is.
Yeah. And to me, it's like when he walks into that room, it's like I felt, I don't know, but some other people can maybe help me out here,
Sure.
But it was like, I'm going through this like emotional moment and this traumatic moment. And then I cut to a version and he comes into the room and he's saying like, you're okay.
Yeah.
And like, no, I'm not, but you're here now. And like, I am okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the like weird, like thing. It's like, I'm in that moment there. It's like, and no, it's not happening like right, but it is. It's like, it's suddenly like he's here and I'm like
totally
safe. It's like a parent coming in and after like your tantrum and being like, how can we fix this? It's like the weird, like you hate your parent, but you like love them when they're there. Right. You know, like I would run away from home. This is a little bit about me, vulnerable, right? I would run away from home like as a middle schooler or high schooler. Didn't want to be found. But then when my mom would find me and like didn't yell at me or would just come and be like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
It's a juxtaposition of like emotions. Like I'm angry, I'm mad and stuff. But then like I wanted this.
Yeah.
Like I wanted her to be there and to comfort me. And that's, and I think that happens in real life too, when we're like arguing and we're mad at people and we have conflict, especially in relationships or whatever. And we just want the person to be like, you're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay. I'm here for you. And that kind of, and that's what it is. It's the way that visually does that, connects those two scenes. I don't think Ellie's experiencing it, right?
No.
But we're experiencing that. It's that moment of like him coming in and saying like, hey,
yeah,
you're okay. And that's where it's like the heartbreak, right? That one, Ellie's not experiencing that. And that's what's heartbreaking, that she can't experience that anymore. That maybe she did, and we are going to see like what her role is and why she loved everything that she lost, obviously in the next episode, and that like what was taken away from her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't get to experience that. She's not going to have that catharsis that we get at the end of that episode.
Totally.
She's going to go off. She's going to have that rage, and that's heartbreaking. For me. I hope that I explained that well, because that I think is what was going through.
I agree. I think also it's heartbreaking because like this scene for me is like very much like I think a hard mark on a path of where Ellie's life might be heading or something like that.
Yeah.
And a significant loss of innocence, where she's killed people. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
She has never tortured murdered, cold calculatingly done something like this. And then we get, hey, kiddo. And it's like, oh, life was so pure with him and her. And the kid that Pedro's talking to, Joel is talking to in that flashback, Ellie's not that person anymore.
Yeah. I'm crying again.
It's okay. It's a rough show.
It's weird because like that's what I didn't expect when I was watching the show. Like I thought they were gonna cut the credits like after Nora, like after the beating and stuff.
I thought so
to
too.
give us that flashback there is like, damn you, HBO and Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. Because I was like, I knew we were gonna get a flashback episode next week, but then to throw that on me, I was so mad at them because I was like, it was like being ripped away from me all at the same time,
there goes
but
my
I was
heart.
like, oh, like, no, Joel's here. Like, I'm happy now. But like, also we cut the credits. Like, no, like that's what I wanted. But yeah, I didn't expect to. And I think that's the power of the story. It's the power of the show that like we are in so much of like Ellie's state that we are following her, that we are in this thing that like suddenly to show us, as we just talked about, like, and to have all those feelings and suddenly like it just hits you, like the juxtaposition and the contradiction of those two emotions like colliding, like two fucking stars or comets or supernovas like colliding together. Like it doesn't make sense. And then my body has no way to react but to cry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's and it's again, it's somewhat of a childlike thing, but as we mentioned, like I've never had a story do that.
Yeah.
Which is why we're talking about it, you know? And this is the first moment I think, that I don't remember. This is the feelings that I had in the game and here, like this, it's the same thing, that every single time it would like come back and hit me. But that's the end of the episode.
What an episode.
And a really good, really packed episode. We still have criticisms. I still have criticisms, I guess, but your favorite episode so far.
For sure.
And if that's your favorite, man, who knows what the next few will be? Cause
yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. Is there anything else as a whole, anything we missed, anything you'd like to mention now that our conversation is over?
I don't think so. I think just like my biggest thing that I will say after discussing the episode is I'm like, so I get 2 more episodes this season.
Yeah.
One of them, someone spoiled, is a flashback episode.
Sorry.
But I'm fucking around.
I know.
But like, I'm only saying this because this is like, I do like this show and I love this universe and these characters a lot, but I have to like put up my guard. I don't like TV because of all the fucking cliffhangers. And it feels like there's still so much that I want them to deal with, that I want them to explore or resolve. I'm bracing myself for disappointment because I don't know how it gets all wrapped up in an episode and a half, or a flashback episode and then an episode.
Well, to be fair, it was never going to be wrapped up because we're splitting one story into 2, right? So
I don't mean to, like fully buttoned up everything,
yeah.
but I mean like if you're calling this a season, and choosing only to make 7 fucking episodes, I want to feel like I land on something at the end of this.
I can say for sure we're going to land on something.
Okay.
I can't wait to talk about it. This is definitely something I didn't think they were going to do this, but
yeah, I mean, actually, turning the question around to you, because a couple episodes ago, you were pretty concerned, and you were a little curious of direction. I'm not saying it's assuaged. I'm asking, where do you stand now? I
thought, and this is for people who have played the game and maybe have seen the marketing material and kind of knew, like my theory from the very beginning when I first saw the trailers, we were going to end the season with the killing of Nora.
Okay.
I thought this is what I didn't know
That's
if it was
what we talked about in between, not on the cast, but I was like, you were like, there's this thing that I think we'll get to, and now I'm wondering if we'll even get to it. And I was like, cool, when we get to the end of the season, I want to know what that point was. But that we already got to it. That was the thing.
Potentially. Yeah.
Crazy.
There's a whole lot of different things too. Also, now it's this thing, it's like we have got to it, so now there's more, right?
Wow.
So but yeah, this is, so the fact is like we, as teased through not only the upcoming teaser, for the show, but also the fact that the final scene that it is next week is going to be a flashback episode, which I can't wait for you to experience. Cause if you were not crying, if you were crying, like, I hope you cry next week because it's emotional, like we're getting Pedro and Bella, back together, Ellie and Joel, which is what we came to this show for, and even the game knew you couldn't just like kill Joel and not, so, and I gotta say, without spoiling, like what you think the flashback might be, it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. And it's also the coolest thing, it's also like, it's so, iconic in its own way. Right. People still talk about some of these flashback scenes. Right.
Wish I didn't have to wait.
But yeah, it is very much so that at this point, I thought we were ending the season with Nora. I thought we were going to stretch things out a little bit. And now it seems that we're going to end in a different way, which is going to be even more crazy. And the fact that we haven't seen any images or anything from, at this point, I can tell you we haven't seen anything from the final episode.
Okay.
In any marketing material, any images or whatever,
Oh my God, what if we get like a 2-hour finale?
I need to look at the runtimes because honestly, again, this is a very short episode, I think, right?
I like not knowing.
I don't know if they've released like the runtime of the new upcoming ones, but I'm curious like how this compares to this episode because it was, again, packed. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, it was 45 minutes. So again, the fact that we're kind of rushing through it now, that like the finale is going to be of this season is going to be probably where I think it's going to end. It does still feel like rushed, I'm at odds with how I feel about it because I get it because we're telling a show. We only have so much budget at all the things I said at the beginning of the episode. But it also feels like, wow, only 7 episodes. I was like, we could have had more, this kind of thing. But at the same time, when the story hits like it did for me at the end of this episode, when everything was so packed tight and I got so many good moments, we love this episode. I loved Spores. We love Jesse coming back. We love the Stalkers. Even the Dina and Ellie stuff. We had a great conversation about that. Like down to like Nora in the hospital. Like it's a very tight, very good episode. Like I fucking loved it. Despite the fact that like it feels like we're moving fast. Like I can't fault them for that. Like it's a lot. You know. So I understand like why they're doing it. I'm always gonna feel like I probably want more.
Yeah, totally.
But we got a lot. And I can't say I hated it. So yeah. That's it. I guess that's our discussion about episode 5, like Feel Her Love. And oh man, I can't wait for you to see next episode. And it's going to be a while before we even resolve this. It's going to be 2 weeks before we resolve what happens between Ellie and Nora and whatever, where she goes next, where's Jesse? Where's Dina? Where's Tommy? And more importantly, where's Shimmer?
Where is Shimmer?
Anyway, thank you so much, Morgan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. A little bit longer than our normal ones, but I think very justified. Again, if you have comments about anything we've talked about today, comment on YouTube, comment on TikTok if I post the clips or whatever, or email us if you want. If you are old school enough to do that, it's codependentcontent@gmail.com. It's all in the outro anyway. I love this. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for listening to Codependent Content. For updates, you can follow us on social media. And if you ever want to see a video version of this podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube or Spotify. If you have any questions or simply want to tell us about something we missed, you can email us at codependentcontent@gmail.com. Or just leave a comment on TikTok and we'll get back to you. Links to all our accounts, where to contact us, or other ways to support will be in the description or show notes. We're glad you're here and working through your traumas with us. Remember, when you're lost in the darkness, search for the light. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. Until the next session, cowabunga, dudes.